other banking services. From the comfort of his home, office, on a bus, in a taxi, while shopping, no matter where he is, as long as his WhatsApp number is the same as the registered phone number on his First Bank account, banking is now truly at his fingertips. Be like Alex. Sign up to First Bank Chat Banking on WhatsApp today by adding First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to your contact list. Get on WhatsApp and say hi. Welcome to a world of possibilities. Add First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to begin chat banking today. You first. First Bank.
Using the wrong tools can cause more harm than good. Same applies to business. Ask yourself, what does your business really need? Not sure? Visit www.smeconnect.firstbanknigeria.com to find out and get the best solutions for your business.
You first, First Bank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You do not need to dey suffer to send money, Gotta go make you down the number 894. Make you know the wait 894. No need to dey stand for line 894. It is safe and secure 894 for me 894 for you 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world 894. You know matter if you know the data 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number 894 for me 894 for you 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You first bank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two First Bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first, First Bank. Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. Just dial *894*11# or simply dial *894# on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select Loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing *894*11#. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
Shopping can be so much fun. Scanning through well-known brands and clicking on the payment button is so fulfilling. Thinking of places to rock them? The island or on a boat cruise? Traveling round the world, visiting exotic places with no cash worries or border issues. The First Bank Naira credit card is accepted in over 29 million locations and can be used in over 1.8 million ATMs in over 200 countries worldwide. The First Bank Naira credit card is denominated in Naira with a maximum credit limit of 3 million Naira. It's got flexible repayment options, interest-free period of up to 45 days, and highly secured with Verified by Visa (VBV). The card can be obtained at any First Bank branch and used for international and local payments. So don't let cash hinder your lifestyle. Get the First Bank Naira credit card today.
You first. First Bank. Technology has changed the way we communicate. Imagine if you could chat with your bank on the go and enjoy round-the-clock services every day, making your banking experience much more exciting, safe and convenient is exactly what First Bank WhatsApp chat banking is designed to do. Meet Alex. Whether it's 12 midnight or 5 a.m., he can make inquiries, transfer funds, buy airtime and data, pay bills, check account balance, and enjoy other banking services. From the comfort of his home, office, on a bus, in a taxi, while shopping, no matter where he is, as long as his WhatsApp number is the same as the registered phone number on his First Bank account, banking is now truly at his fingertips. Be like Alex. Sign up to First Bank Chat Banking on WhatsApp today by adding First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to your contact list. Get on WhatsApp and say hi. Welcome to a world of possibilities. Add First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to begin chat banking today. You first. First Bank.
And good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the 5th annual First Bank Vendor Engagement Session. The theme of this year's session is Innovative Practices and Collaborative Strategies for a Greener Tomorrow. My name is Chiomi Gwim, Head Vendor Management Unit, Procurement Department, First Bank of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking out off time from your busy schedules to join and attend our webinar today. Before we start off this event, I would like to share some ground rules, and I would also want to event. The agenda on today's event is in front of you. So I would like to share some ground rules to all our partners and all our guests. Please use the chat box on the screen to drop off your comments to make this session an interactive one. For questions during the presentations, please use the Q&A box on below your screen, and I will address all the questions as time permits after each presentation. At this time, I would love to welcome Mrs. Omolade Olawore, the Chief Compliance Officer, First Bank of Nigeria, who's presenting the Executive Director and Group Chief Financial Officer, First Bank Group and subsidiaries, to give the welcome address. Welcome, Ma.
Good morning, Chioma. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. And good morning to everyone on this webinar. It's a pleasure to be here, and I stand in for Patrick Iyamabo, the ED Chief Financial Officer for First Bank, who is unavoidably absent at this session this morning, but will be joining us in the course of the webinar. I believe he'll be on before the webinar ends, and he would also put in a few words just to support this initiative. So thank you very much and welcome everybody once again. I want to welcome you to this year's vendors engagement. And my opening remark will be very short, just to appreciate everybody, appreciate all the vendors that have been supporting us in meeting our bank's strategic objectives. I'm sure that has been shared with you over and over again by our procurement department. And we know that there are vendors that cuts across different industries, even in this session this morning, from power to technology to civil works to corporate services. But the bottom line is that we are all charged with the same objective. It is to help us to bring value to our organization. Value in terms of what we buy, to be sure that we're getting the best price and we're getting the best, not just in terms of price, but in terms of the quality of what we are getting from you, our vendors. I think that's very important, and we'll just like to reiterate that even throughout the session this morning. We want to appreciate you for all the support that you've given to First Bank, and we trust that you will continue to provide such support going forward. We also expect that in terms of ethical engagement, that would always be a very critical area of focus for you. We want to encourage you that First Bank, we have a very clear process on how procurement is being done, on how engagement with vendors is being done, and nobody in First Bank will walk outside of those protocols. If you find anybody working outside of those protocols, we would like to enjoin you to please use the appropriate channels of communication to highlight it to us, and we will deal with it. So once again, I wish us a very, very engaging time, even as we go through the theme for today, innovative practices and collaborative strategies for a greener tomorrow. Thank you again, and welcome to the webinar. And on that note, I declare the webinar open. Thank you and have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you, Ma, for a warm welcome, and thank you for setting the tone for the event. I will bring in our next speaker, Mrs. Titilayo Balogu, Head Procurement Department, First Bank of Nigeria. She will be giving a brief overview of the procurement journey so far. Welcome, Tiobe.
Thank you, Chairman. Please, can you share the slides, please?
That is displayed now.
Okay. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's session, and compliments of the season to you all. The engagement with you, our partners, is a daily exercise. But we use this format. This year has this opportunity to appreciate you all for your support and your resilience in providing quality products and services to the bank as and when required. I assure you, we do not take your support for granted. Yes, so I would like to mention some changes that we have made in the course of the year, and these are aimed at improving our supplier relationship and productivity. We recently deployed some surveys to get your feedback on our processes and your experiences with the bank. And we've received feedback from about 800 of our partners, areas that require improvement, and we'll definitely address these areas. We also thank you for areas where we have received positive feedbacks, and we plan to sustain them and even exceed your expectations in those areas. We've also enforced the need to have improvement review meetings with end users and the partners whose performances fall below acceptable threshold during the course of a quarter. So this exercise is done on a quarterly basis, and it gives us opportunity to hear your own views and your concerns, and also agree on improvements that is required. And those improvements will be tracked and will be a basis for future engagement with First Bank. So we encourage that you should please take it very seriously when we call you for such. Furthermore, we commence the annual attestation to the third-party code of conduct documents. That was in the course of the year, and this document is usually shared with you, our partners, while we are onboarding you at the initial stage. But we've identified the need to continue to remind our partners to keep to the requirements of that policy to ensure we have sustainability in both your business. Next slide, please. So for 2024, we plan to continue to strengthen our strategic partnerships for mutually beneficial relationships. And in addition to that, as earlier mentioned, we are going to work towards ensuring we have great vendor experience across all our touch points. In return, we'll be asking our partners to continue to support us in providing value to the bank and ensuring timely completion of all the projects that we award to you. We always welcome to innovative and eco-friendly solutions, as this will be helpful in finding new ways to deliver value and solve problems that we come up with on a day-to-day basis. So today we have lined up a couple of presentations to reiterate the regulatory expectations, share insights for business continuity, and even share some products of the bank that will be beneficial to both your companies and your staff. So all the presentations are aligned to our theme, like the chair's opening remarks was given by the CCO. Our theme remains innovative practices and collaborative strategies for a greener tomorrow. So all the presentations are turned towards this, and we are well aware that the importance of sustainability in our respective business is very key. So I will implore you all to please sit back, participate fully in all the sessions, and please do ask questions where you require clarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome to our partners and highlighting the procurement journey so far. We'll now bring on our guest speaker, Dr. Iyonda. Before I go, I would like to give a brief profile of our guest speaker. Dr. Olukunle Iyonda is the founder and chief executive officer of Roots Consulting and the managing partner, CEO, Western Central Africa for the Design Thinkers Group, a design strategy, innovation, and research consulting firm. He is a persuasive, performance-driven, energetic leader with over 30 years of experience. He is the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of the Tri-State Healthcare System from 2026 to 2018, the Vice President of the Development and Strategy at Bangkok University. Dr. Iyonda is an award-winning professional, winning the prestigious Brand of the Year Award by the World Branding Forum at Kensington Palace, London, and the Best Private University Award by the African University Student Association. In 2022, he was presented with the Sir Ahmadu Bello Distinguished Leadership Award of Excellence by the National Association of Northern Nigerian Students. He served on the corporate board and is currently a member of the board of directors of Tri-State Heart Foundation, board and member of International Health Management Services Limited. Dr. Iyonda is a senior fellow of the Nigerian Leadership Institute, a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, an associate of the Nigerian Institute of Taxation, a certified Information System Auditor, and a member, Chartered Institute of Management, UK. He holds an MBA from Olabisi Onabanjo University with a special focus on e-commerce, an MSc in Corporate Governance from Leeds Beckett University, Leeds, UK, a PhD in Information System Management from Walden University, Minnesota, USA. Dr. Yonda would speak on making a difference with green procurement, saving tomorrow with culture of innovation. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Chuma, and thank you, participant. I want to believe that you can all hear me. I'm glad to be here this morning to make a presentation on making a difference. So how do we make a difference with procurement? We've heard eloquently from the ED in terms of the expectation, and so also we have heard from Mrs. Titi, So we want to look at great procurement, but particularly we are looking at the future. I always like to tell people that if there is anything that we have, that thing that we have is the future, and if that future is destroyed, then we don't have anything as human beings. If you look at the world today and anybody asks you and say, what do you consider to be major challenges, in the world? Very likely we can easily talk about economic instability. Look at Nigeria, you talk about Forex, you talk about the issue of inflation, and all of that. If I talk about conflict and wars, we can easily connect to it and say, oh, well, there is war in between Hamas and Israel, there is Ukraine war, not to talk of terrorism and all sorts of things that is happening in some parts of Nigeria. If I talk about political instability, you all agree with me to say that political instability is one of the key challenges that we have. And if you don't understand the first three, every one of us will understand what poverty and hunger is. It's either you have experienced it or someone around you has experienced it. And if you are from an affluent family, you must have seen what poverty look like, around you as you travel, day to day, you see beggars and all of that. So we consider the first four to be a major problem in our world. However, if I talk about climate change or depleting natural resources, then majority of us will not connect to it. Even myself at my level, until a few years back, I really don't understand what it's all about. You will travel, you go to some hotels and they will tell you, oh, don't waste water. They will tell you, except it is necessary, just use one towel. There are some hotels you go to and they have about 4 or 5 towels in your room, but they advise you just, try as much as possible to use one towel. And you ask yourself that. If you look at this picture, you see a herdsman with a AK-47, and you ask yourself, why will a herdsman be carrying an AK-47? If all he needs is just a rod to direct his cattle. But you see the herdsman carrying AK-47, you ask yourself, maybe we don't even understand why that is. What about flooding? Every one of us in this picture below must have contributed to this in one way or the other, either by procuring, bottled water,
Some slide
dry land. So why all of this? For each of these pictures that you see there, I can tell you categorically that climate change has a lot to do with it. There are what we call climate stressors. What are the things that stressing the climate? The issue of high temperatures. Last year in Europe, you discover it got to a point that they experience heat waves and people were fanning themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of them, unlike Nigeria, they don't have conditioner. Because prior to that time, there's no need for air conditioner.
I didn't find any appointments about flooding every one of us at this picture below must in the next 3 months.
I'm sorry about that. I think my Siri misbehaved. Okay, so you have climate stressor, you have changing hydrologic patterns, in terms of evaporations, and all of that, and resulting in drought in some areas. We have the issue of rising sea levels that is causing floodings here and there. What aside do this thing brings to us? The issue of extreme heat, wildfires, in places like California, places like Australia. What about drought? Drought is happening. In the Sahel, you see, in the Sahel, that you see a lot of drought, happening there. Go to Eritrea, go to Ethiopia, and all of that. What about inland flooding, which we experience from time to time? Some years back, about 2 or 3 years, there was a major flooding in Lekki, so bad that people are using canoe on the road that would normally ply with our cars. Now, what else? What about coastal flooding? You must have experienced, all of that. These are assets that climate change has brought onto us. What impact do we see? The issue of public health, all right? You see, the issue of public health, you see people getting sick by the day, water gets contaminated, access to water become a major issue. In Nigeria, there are about 70 million people that doesn't have access to water. Globally, there are about 2 billion people that doesn't have access to water. In spite of the fact that water is everything that we see everywhere. But when you talk about clean water, very few people actually have that. What about damages to our properties? And nobody is safe when things get out of hand. We have life-threatening events, that we see around us. So there is a cause for us to worry about what is going on, and there is cause for us to begin to think, differently on how we can do things better and how we can save our future, how we can become more innovative in the way we approach procurement, in the way we approach consumptions, and all of that. This guy, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin of America, said, we face all kinds of threats in our line of work, but very few of them truly deserve to be called essential threats. Climate change is making the world more unsafe, and we need to act fast. This is also to tell us that there's need for all of us to challenge, what we believe, to challenge our biases in terms of our environment, that we live. If you look at the chart that you have in here, in this research, it is saying that the fish catches off the coast of West Africa are likely to drop by about 50%. And you know that fish is what every one of us like to eat. Those who doesn't even have, they can go to the river and, fish and catch something, they get some protein. But by the time, but because of issue of environmental degradations and all of that, you see a lot of that happening in the South. What do you see? Most of those fishes, are becoming scarce, by the day. Not to talk of drought in Sahel, which I've talked about. Look at South Africa, they experience drought, as well. Look at the Mount Kilimanjaro. The ice cap of Kilimanjaro, we are told that from 1912 has been depleted, completely. There's no ice cap there anymore. And these are things that cause for concern. Protecting our tomorrow, we can only do that through responsible acquisitions of materials. Let's not forget that without a buyer, there is no seller. So we, as procurement people, we are the one that procure. And if nobody is buying, take for instance, maybe plastic bags, which are non-biodegradable, what is going to happen? You discover that those who are producing it are likely going to be out of business. Okay, and that's why the issue of innovation comes to say, what else can we do, differently? So when we talk about green energy, we are talking about, or when we talk about green procurement rather, we are asking you to procure products and services that reduce negative impact on human health and environment. You see that picture there. These are some of the things that we cause. Okay, so it is also called environmental responsible purchasing. That we ask ourselves before we procure, does this procurement show that we're environmentally, responsible? If our answer is no, we need to look at it again. Then we talk about trend in green procurement, which I think is very important. Important for all of us. Today we are holding each other accountable. Okay, they just finished COP, 2023 in Dubai, and you can see the human rights people saying it is true. You want to consume this. I don't have any problem with your consumption, but don't allow your consumption to deprive me of my dignity. Don't allow your consumption to destroy my own health, in the process. So more and more of human rights activists will begin to come out. Then we're talking about even labor standard. We're talking about diversity and inclusion. Now, the world is moving toward digitization. And sometimes you see that we start digitization, but we head in one process. But one of the things that we also believe that when you digitize, the advantage of it to you as an organization is it enables, transparency. It gives you easy access. It facilitates or foster collaborations. Okay, it can give birth to innovations. These are the trends, that we have seen. What about life cycle? We're saying, people are saying, okay, I want to buy this thing, but what is the impact of this throughout its entire life cycle? We talk about innovation. We talk about consumption efficiency. You go to some offices now, some are not even using, what do you call it anymore? They are not using bottled water or using dispenser. There are some offices and factories that what they have done to show that they are environmentally responsible is to install water fountain everywhere. Okay, and they have done it in a way that you only get what you needed. Okay, people are replacing in some in some toilets, they are replacing paper towel with hand dryers, and all of that. These are some of the things that we need to think through. And we talk about circular economy. Circular economy in the sense that this thing that we want to buy, okay, can it be reused? Can it be repaired? Can it be refurbished? Can it be recycled? If you embrace all the trends that you have in green procurement, what will it lead to? You are going to have cost savings. You are going to save, tremendously in the future. At the beginning, you may have the challenge of maybe higher cost, but it's going to play off eventually. Then we have better environment. Then your reputations, because now, especially globally, and a large organization like First Bank, people, large investors begin to look at you and say, are they environmentally responsible? And all of that. Then it enhances reputations. Not to talk of compliance. In some states, in the US, they talk about carbon emissions and they will tell you that once it's above 5%, then it's not acceptable. You know that at the time, Volkswagen and Volvo actually ran into problem because of this. Okay, so in green procurement, what do we need to do? Suppliers assessment. We need to be able to ensure that our suppliers are committed to reducing carbon emission. Today, Nigeria is talking of CNG. Funny enough, we're even talking about electric cars, even in Africa. Before, you would think that maybe this thing is just in the future, it will never happen. But here it's with us. So we want to look at suppliers who are committed to reducing waste, suppliers who are using eco-friendly materials. If we are very serious about green procurement, how do we collaborate with our suppliers? We also want to have open dialogue, which is like what you are doing currently, to say, let's dialogue with these compliers. Let us encourage them to understand what sustainable procurement is all about, what sustainable practices is all about. Okay, and I thank you for this kind of a forum. We also want to look at innovation. How do we encourage innovations? Can we position ourselves at the bank to say any suppliers that move towards green procurement, that move towards sustainable product, we can encourage, we can supply, we can assist in one way or the other. Then talk about stakeholders engagement. This is very critical. You cannot come up with a good green procurement practices without an effective stakeholder engagement. If you are doing it on your own as a procurement unit, or if you are just a supplier who say, you know what, I just want to talk about procurement. There are people within our ecosystem that we need to bring in due to their influence or interest. So you need to manage that. And there's need for us to set clear policies. Do we have a green procurement policies? Do we have priorities, and target? What are the things we have? Therefore, there's need for us to ask ourselves before we buy. Is it durable? Is it something that is going to last? All right? Can we give preference to things that are made from recycled materials or renewable sources? If there is a failure in the parts, can it be recycled? Can it be replaced? Or can it be returned for a reuse or a remanufacture? These are things we want to promote. Is it energy or water efficient? Can it be, shipped securely with minimum packaging, not with excessive packaging? Because each of these contribute to climate change challenges. So when we talk about our green procurement policy, there is need for us to come up with a policy that people can understand and they can be committed to when it comes to acquisitions of materials or services. We also need to ask ourselves critical questions. What critical questions do we need to ask when it comes to green procurement? What is the total cost of ownership? The total cost of ownership is saying, I'm buying this X material for 1,000, all right? but every year I'm spending about 200 to maintain it for the next 50 years, or for the next 20 years, or for the next 10 years. However, there is one I'm buying, and I'm buying it for 10,000, but my cost of maintaining it every year is 1 naira. Okay, so if I multiply that by 10 years, I see that I've actually reduced my cost of ownership. So what we are saying is the way we need to think, innovatively when it comes to procurement practices and green procurement is not to not to fix our eyes on the cost of initial acquisition, but to look at the total cost of ownership. All right, we can ask ourselves, is there a surplus of same or similar materials in another department, and are they willing to give it to us? Are they willing to trade it off if they are not, if it is surplus, or do they have it and they are not using it? So before you procure, you want to ask, this thing that we want to buy, do we have it in another, do we have it elsewhere? Can we exchange it? Okay, can the existing product be economically and sustainably refurbished? And can the assets be distributed at no further cost? So there's need for us to embrace eco-friendly innovative practices. Therefore, we need to rethink how we build our homes, how we grow our food, how we produce energy, and how we protect nature. This should be the focus of an eco-friendly organization. So when we talk about green procurement, many organizations today talk about ESG. The ESG stands for economy, it stands for social, then it stands for governance. I'm sorry about that. There's an error there. Economy, social, and governance. That's what we are looking at. So now you are asking yourself, in terms of the economy, is there a fair business conduct? Because sometimes you ask Mr. A to come and give you this. Yeah, Mr. A said, I'm going to sell it for 1 naira. Then you ask Mr. B, and Mr. B said, okay, I'm going to do mine for 2 naira. But you have to ask yourself a question. Are we comparing apple for apple? I talk about circular resources. I talk about carbon footprint. Carbon footprint tells you the amount of non-clean energy that you release into our environment and their impact on our environment. So when we talk about ESG framework, which I believe that your organization possibly have, is when you have that framework, you must be able to satisfy your consumers who have preference. Today, there are consumers that will just tell you that, look, I have preference for materials that are environmentally friendly. We talk about regulation the other time. Then what about today? We have seen, especially outside of this country, that there are banks, there are investors that will tell you that you want to see your ESG framework. You want to see whether you are helping the environment or you are damaging our environment. And some are so strict that if you don't have a good framework that shows that you are helping the environment, they are not willing to borrow you money, or they are not willing to invest in you. All right. So how do we improve employees' engagement? How do we attract and retain talent? These are some of the things that we need to look at. And it's been proven that organizations that embrace the ESG, what do you see? What have they experienced? They have experienced faster growth. They have experienced higher profit. They have experienced reduction in cost, and they have experienced better performance when it comes to operational efficiency and reductions of weight. Now, what are the challenges that we have when you talk about green procurement? Number one, there is a lack of clear and consistent definition. So we need, as a bank, to say, when we talk about green procurement, this is what it means to us. And we must be able to do it in a way that is so clear, foolproof, that anybody can understand it. All right? Now, also, lack of awareness, lack of information can, make green procurement to be, to be terrible. So could we say, okay, now we've come up with this framework. This is the objective of this framework. This is the benefit that this green procurement framework is going to confer on us as a supplier, or confer on us as a buyer, confer on us as an investor, confer on us as a bank. It must be crystal clear. All right. Also, we have seen that there is a lack of capacity and skills among procurement officers. So most time, what they focus on is not the total value of ownership, but they focus on How much am I able to save for my organization? How much am I able to save for my organization at the expense of the environment? Okay? So lack of incentive. What incentive do we have for anybody to say, I'm supplying you with an energy efficient materials, I'm supplying you with environmentally friendly, products. And lack of stakeholder engagement and poor culture. Poor organizational culture is also one of those things that have challenged organization very terribly when it comes to acquiring procurement, great procurement practices, and resistance to change. People always don't like change. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring this presentation to a conclusion from a quote from Edward Hart Carr, who says, the choice is, do we choose transformation we like? It's for us as suppliers, it's for us as vendors, it's for us as buyers, it's for us as First Bank to say, we want to choose the transformation we like, and this is the kind of transformation. Or do we get transformed by the world in which we live because of what we have done to it? So if there is, there is this thing they call the heart of God. And you know that out of God, flooding, earthquakes, and all of that, insurance will tell you that, no, we are not paying for this because it's an act of God. But it's not an act of God if you look at it critically. It is more of an act of man. And the more of these that we call, somebody will go to, a forest and just maybe smoking, and before you know it, drop the cigarette somewhere during Harmattan, and the whole place will be set ablaze. And houses will be consumed. It happened in Hawaii and all of that. And you ask yourself, you go to insurance and say, no, it's an act of God. But you know what? God did not come down and smoke and set fire on those and that caused the wildfire. It's an act of man. And if we do not choose to transform the way we like, the way that is sustainable, the way that will be happy, guess what? We may be compelled to be transformed. So we need to think innovatively. We need to think of the future, because the only thing we have is the future. If there is anything that keeps all of us alive, in spite of challenges and all of that, is because we believe that, okay, the future is going to be better. But the future will not be better except we change how we live. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your audience, and I want to believe that I've been able to convey within the few minutes allotted to me the essence of this, to meet the objective of this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yada. Thank you for that insightful presentation. And some of the take home for me is the green procurement framework, where we would assess our suppliers, collaborate more efficiently with our suppliers, ensure to open a dialogue with our partners to encourage the adoption of sustainable practices in their organization, and also as First Bank is seeking to do so in our own organization. Encourage innovation by our partners and working partners who have demonstrated the commitment and continuous improvement in developing an eco-friendly product and solutions to the bank. Our stakeholder engagement, which is currently what we're doing now. So I thank you for this presentation. We would like to go, take some questions. And for the first question, Dr. Yanda, I have a question here which says, how can organizations engage stakeholders in implementing eco-friendly innovative practices to ensure a holistic and collaborative approach to sustainability?
All right. So you want me to go? You want me to go to answer that, or we should take all the questions?
Okay. The second question is then, what strategies can an organization, employ to address and overcome challenges associated with green procurement, as discussed in your green procurement challenges? And the last question here is, in what ways can organizations leverage innovation within the green procurement to contribute to a culture of sustainability and to make a lasting impact on environmental conservation? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, for that. So I want to talk about stakeholder management, which I believe is very key. I always say that, there's what you call a stakeholder mapping. And when you do your stakeholder map, you want to see who are the people that are impacted by what you are doing or by what you intend to do. and you must identify them. You must list them out. And after you have identified them, you want to map them out in the area of interest and the area of influence. So if I'm looking at green procurement practices and I'm a supplier, and I'm trying to tell you that, guess what? It is better for First Bank to use energy efficient bulb or to use a movement activation, lighting system, so that your light is not just on when nobody is there. I'm trying to sell that. However, I know that it's more expensive, and I know that First Bank will first of all look at cost, the initial cost of acquisition. So how do I get First Bank from known to the unknown? The first thing I want to do is to identify, and in my identification of who are the critical stakeholders, I have to go beyond even my primary target, which is the procurement unit. Okay, to see, guess what? Even if procurement unit believe in what we are trying to do, what about the finance? What about the chief executive, who is maybe more focused on the bottom line and all of that? What can I demonstrate to show that on the long run, the organization is better for it? I always say that whatever decision you want to take, it doesn't matter. And that's why when you talk about innovation, you must look at innovation from three lenses. Number one, is it desirable? Number two, is it feasible? Number three, is it viable? Now, let me quickly explain that. Desirable means that these new policies that we are trying to introduce, when we talk about green procurement, do people really want it? Do the management want it? The supplier want it? Does the government want it? If our answer is yes, then it's a good place to begin. If our answer is no, we must be able to come up with a clear value definition that will make the people to say, okay, yes, we want to listen. Now, once we look at that solution, the next thing you want to ask yourself is that, is it feasible? That is, can we do it? Can it be done? Somebody is saying that, oh, we don't want to use plastic anymore at First Bank, all right? And if you say we don't want to use plastic anymore at First Bank, do we do away with dispenser water? Do we do away with bottled water? If you say we are going to do away with it, then the next question is how? If it cannot be done, you know it's going to die on arrival. So you look at feasibility, it can be done. This is the solution. There's technical competence to get it done. Then the last thing is viability. Because if it's not viable, it's not going to be sustainable. Viability in the sense that, okay, this thing, let me put it, raw. Viability will mean, show me the money. Am I saving cost or am I boosting my revenue? And if your innovation does not address either cost savings or cost improvement, or revenue improvement, it's not going to fly. And that's why sometimes we use innovation very loosely. If it doesn't have those three lenses, then it's not an innovation, it's just creativity. So we must be able to demonstrate when we engage our stakeholders like this forum, explaining to them, you are trying to tell them that we want to embrace this. And they are asking, all right, you want us to go green? Fine. Are you willing to pay for green? And we say, yes, we are willing to pay for green. But when you get to the management will say, okay, what value are we getting, as a result of this? That is my first answer to the first question. And I think it also covered the second. So when we talk about the strategies to overcome the various challenges associated with green, I think the first strategy is the stakeholder engagement. There is no two way to it. There must be a clear stakeholder engagement. Then once you have your stakeholders engagement, then the next thing you want to be doing is, okay, the stakeholders are clear and we are all happy, so come up with a clear policy. I heard the head of procurement talking about, the policy that they have established, when it comes to procurement framework at First Bank. So also we can come up with the policy. Let me give you an instance. Sometimes ago, so we are engaged, we are a consulting firm, and when we are engaged, everything was done by, virtual. We sent proposal virtual, we had discussion virtual, so eventually we are engaged. However, when it comes to payment, it was insisted that we must physically bring the invoice. That we must print the invoice and we must physically bring the invoice. And I said that there's a contradiction. Where is the contradiction? Are we going green or are we going the traditional way? If we have battered this process until delivery and everything, including our vendor or whatever, is green, then why do you have that insistence? And it may not be an organization-wide practice. It may be just a unit that says, okay, you have to. So I said, if I'm coming from Kano, let's say you engage me from Kano, so I need to actually send someone physically to bring the invoice. Okay, so these are some of the things. That's why I say policy is very, very critical. When you want to formulate this policy, you have to ensure that it takes care of everything that you ever imagine. That is the way I want to, tackle this. Number one is your stakeholder engagement. Number two is to have clear policy. Number three is to come up with this clear priorities of what we think is a value add for us as a bank when it comes to procurement. Thank you.
So much for that answers, sir. We welcome you again, and we say thank you for joining this webinar, and thank you for this insightful presentation. Our next speaker is from the Compliance Department, Edet Basi, who will be representing the Chief Compliance Officer, Ms. Molade Olawore. He will be presenting on the topic, entrenching an effective compliance culture. So I welcome Edet right now. Thank you, Edet. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Choma. Once again, I want to welcome our esteemed partners into the 5th edition of the vendor engagement. Today, I want to bring to the fore, the importance of entrenching an effective compliance culture in your organization. We cannot overemphasize the importance of compliance. Even from the last speaker, it's all about complying with the rules, with regulations, that have been set, to protect the environment. Even also, as we are protecting the environment, we're also trying to protect businesses. And one of the key fulcrum of doing this is how are we adhering to set rules and regulations? Well, those rules and regulations were actually set to guide the prosperity of the business and also make that business sustainable. So quickly, we'll be looking at the compliance culture, policies, regulatory, and we'll conclude. Now, we in First Bank, we are committed to the business of ensuring integrity, transparency, and regulatory standards. As a bank, I always proud to say that we have almost 127 years experience. So when we talk, we talk with a lot of confidence. We talk of a lot of experience as regards compliance. So we believe that as an organization, you must entrench integrity, you must entrench transparency, and of course, you must have very viable ethical and regulatory standard if you must succeed. And so we in First Bank also, we are committed working with our third-party vendors to promote responsible practices throughout our operations. And so we expect that, as a bank, we have our policies, we have our procedures. We also expect that if we are in a partnership with you, we expect that you also have those ethics and those level of integrity and transparency, because what you do as a partner, whether we like it or not, rub on us as a bank, because like you said, show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. So we are in this partnership. So we believe what we are doing in First Bank that is right. We also believe that you as a partner in progress, you also embrace such vices. Okay, and now a compliance culture is a set of values, behaviors, attitude that guide people in your company to adhere to procedures and regulations. Like I said, if you are an organization, if you can make all the profits, you can make everything, but if just one single exception, just one single thing can throw you out of business. So it is very, very important that at all times we adhere strictly to rules and regulations. I believe as an organization, in your own sphere or in your own space or in your own industries, there are set rules and regulations, that those that are supervising what you do, normally advises you, and believe that as an organization, you should have a machinery in place to ensure that those rules and regulations are strictly adhered to. So what are the benefits? Why do we need to comply? Or why do we need to, have this compliance culture in our DNA? Because here in First Bank, I must tell you confidently that the tone at the top when it comes to compliance is very, very positive. I think that accounted for the reason why we are still in business, why we have done more than 27 years and we are still going better, growing better, moving faster. I can also confidently tell you that this year, this financial year, that the bank, as large as we are, will not be found wanting by CBN. We've not suffered any sanction. That tells you how robust our compliance culture here is in the bank, and also how also we will move along, in terms of the AML, CFT, CPF regime, as they have been said at times by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So some of those benefits that you stand to gain if as an organization you employ a positive compliance culture, if you embrace a compliance culture, one is that, it brings about lower risk in the sense that, once your regulator have that confidence in you that, look, when it comes to this company A, in terms of regulations, they don't breach regulations, they are adhering strictly to rules and regulations, then the regulator himself will have that confidence in you. So the level of regulatory scrutiny on your activities will be very, very low. It also speaks to your reputation as an organization. Reputation is very, very key. Reputation is very, very important. You can be making all the money, but if you don't have reputation, just one issue on your reputation, might bring down the company. So if you entrench and if you ensure that the compliance culture is sitting at the front seat in whatever you're doing, then you will achieve this milestone. And also less assistance and more confidence among employees while performing their job, because they know, look, what we are doing, we are doing the right thing. So there is no fear that there might be any sanction or there might be any issue, from the regulators. It also attracts and retain talent and ensure employee engagement. The thing is that if you are making profits and those profits are sustained, definitely you'll be paying your workers very well. I know everybody wants to work in an organization where the salary is good, so if you are entrenching an effective compliance culture, it means that there will be little or nothing you are paying in terms of penalties. So if you are making 100 million, that 100 million sits with you. It's not going the other way around, through a form of a penalty payment. It also improves transparency, which enables better decision. It enhances relationship with regulators and other stakeholders. Whether you like it or not, as an organization, or even we as a bank, you must have that cordial relationship with your regulators, because it helps a lot. It makes the business thrive, and it makes also whatever you are doing, it sees in the positive limelight. So a great way to reinforce a culture of compliance involves bringing the change from the top down. Like I said, here in First Bank, the top is their body language, their movement, everything conforms to a very strong compliance culture. So that's why if the top, space compliance, then we at the bottom, we don't have a choice than to follow suit. So we're also challenging you as an organization to ensure that the top management space compliance, the work compliance, the live compliance, and I tell you, those at the middle and those at the bottom would follow suit. Now, in terms of compliance policy in vendor management, we, like I said, as a bank, we've built a lot of compliant and ethical values over the years. And in terms of our relationship with you, we're also challenging you you know, that you put some of these measures in place to ensure that that compliance culture is entrenched. And now some of those issues or those policies, you know, that we here in the bank, I know we uphold in high esteem, and we also want to employ you that you also hold that to high esteem. Now, the first one there is the third-party code of conduct, the policy, anti-bribery. Now, these are some of the policies that we expect vendors to uphold in high esteem. Now, the first one here in the bank, we don't encourage you giving any form of an incentive or bribe to our staff. I can tell you with all sense of responsibility and confidence that we are handsomely being paid here in First Bank. So we don't need those incentives. We don't need all those, you know, all those dash this and that to do our work. We are paid to do our work, and so we don't need those facilitation payments, all those donations. We don't need that. What is that? We work with you in a type of, you know, selecting vendors and everything. We don't just select, we do it on ethical basis. We don't look at people's face. Here in First Bank, like I said, we are handsomely paid, so we don't need those bribes. We don't need those facilitation payment. We work with you as you come. We work with you as you are qualified. We work with you as you have that substance to deliver to the bank. The same thing also, a gift. We don't accept gift here in First Bank. You know, the gift might come in form of cash, lavish, this, but you know, due to our Nigerian culture, you know, we like say, take for the work, job well done. But you know, we know that, you know, being our culture, you know, if you are telling an elderly person that, look, I don't want this thing, he or she might feel offended. So we said, okay, fine. If they are going to the restaurant and say, look, you must collect this thing. Once you collect that thing, you must declare. That is the policy in the bank. Once you collect any gift, you must declare to the compliance department. So that tells you how serious we take these policies, because we know that some of these gifts can induce or change decisions, you know, that would have ordinarily wouldn't have been taken in favor of a particular vendor or a particular supplier. So we want everybody to be treated equally and on the same play. We don't want a situation where I know because you gave me this, then I will not be, you know, favoring you, or, you know, taking a decision you know, that favors you. No, we want everybody to be treated equally. That's why we've abused the minds of our staff that, look, don't take gift. And we're also encouraging our vendors, our partners, please don't give gift to our staff. They are handsomely being paid. In terms of a conflict of interest, this is very, very important. You know, all this we are trying to do is that we don't want any thing, you know, that will change our judgment, you know, towards assessing our vendors, towards assessing our suppliers, towards assessing our partners in progress. Because we call you partners in progress. We cannot do this alone. We need your partnership. We need your support. And you know, that is why we are in business. That is why we are in business. So as much as possible, we should be able, you know, to display a high sense of ethical values in whatever we are doing as a bank. Like I told you, I'm always proud to say that, look, we have been in business over 127 years. It's not easy. How many companies? So we have this reputation to protect as a bank. And that is why we are saying, look, if you are coming as a vendor or as a supplier, if there is any person you know, any director you know, please, you must declare. Because that has a way of influencing decision, you know, towards your own side. So we don't want anybody to be cheated. Like I said earlier, we want everybody to be on the same plane. Everybody must be treated equally. If everybody is asked to write application, everybody should write application. Everybody should go through the assessment, you know, before they are finally being enrolled to the bank. So as much as possible, and to tell you how we take seriously these issues of conflict of interest, we'll say that, look, if you don't disclose at the point of getting that visa, if our investigation shows that, look, that because this contract you got was because you know one ED, or you know one a director, or you know the this and that. Honestly, we will take out that contract, record that, we'll record that contract, and we'll blacklist that vendor. You will not be accepted again in any First Bank. So all this is just to ensure that, look, that we operate clean, that nobody is being favored, everybody is treated equally. That is the essence of all this that we are doing. And lastly, the whistleblowing policy is there. We encourage you, please, any of our staff, that is asking you to bring 1 naira, 2 naira, or this and this before they will give you that contract, please, you are free to whistleblow. First Bank is a bank that thrives with values. It's a bank, we have our epic values, we thrive with values, and so we don't want anybody, to rob or stain that values that we've been, having over the years. So please, if anybody is trying to, tell you this, that, if you don't bring that, you'll not get this contract, please, these are the channels, that you can whistleblow that individual or that staff. And I tell you that to be treated with all level of seriousness and transparency. Okay, the Nigerian data protection here also in First Bank, we respect our customers' data and information. We don't give out our customers' information to a third party without their consent. But however, there are some instances where the bank, will need to give us this data, without at time, getting the consent of the customers, or without, looking to get, to ask, do we give or there are some instances where we just give those data, and those is when it has to do with a legal obligation. Maybe the customer is the subject of an investigation, and the law enforcement agencies, they're asking, look, we need this customer's information, and they are bringing a court order, to get those information. We as a bank cannot resist that, because we are a law-abiding organization. So as such, we give out that information. And also, if that information will be of a vital interest, will be of public interest, and something that is of a legitimate interest, we will give out those information. So, so much have been talked about the greener tomorrow, and we believe that the greener tomorrow speaks about sustainability, speaks about profit, speaks about partnership. I know, and we, like I said, we cherish much your partnership, because you're the reason why we are in business, and of course, we are also the reason why you are in business. So our partnership together will lead to more profitability. So we are also saying that please encourage a compliance culture in the organization. Try as much as possible to promote sustainability, and please report violations, and be law-abiding. And as we said earlier, please disclose all third-party transactions that you have with any of our directors, staff, or anybody you have to disclose. And above all, maintain integrity, avoid criminality, because whatever you do has a way of rubbing up on us as a bank. And so we must ensure that you must also make sure that you do not offer bribe. Like I've said earlier, don't give gifts to our staff. We are absolutely being paid. Tips or to our staff, ensure that you trade with our staff in a transparent manner. And as a bank, we believe that if we uphold all these ethics and all these values, together we thrive, together we make more profitability. Thank you for your time. God bless you all.
Thank you, Edith, for that compliance, detailed compliance presentation. For me, some of the topics I would want to reiterate would be all the benefits of entrenching an effective compliance culture, which would include reduce low reputational risk, improve transparency for better decision making, enhance the relationship between our regulators and our stakeholders, which include our partners here. And then also to pick, some of the compliance policies that we currently use in vendor management, which is the third party code of conduct. And I'm aware of all the vendors here. We do that at the point of onboarding. And the head of procurement stated at when she made her opening speech, she also stated we currently have an annual exercise for validation of our third party code of conduct, the conflict of interest and related party disclosure, which I spoke to. The vendors, our partners here, we try to ensure that you do that at the point of onboarding, but notwithstanding, we also expect, like Edith has stated, that you would also disclose at any point in time. The gift policy, the anti-bribery and corruption, and the whistleblowing channels. The channels have been displayed by Edith, and then I know for now from us at procurement, we've also started stating same in our POs so that you are aware, and then at any point in time you can, whistleblow if the case. So I would like to take some questions for Edith. So Edith, I have a question from the Q&A box. Says, please, can the bank address the area of, can the bank address the area of prices to avoid sharp corners from the vendors? That's one of questions. And another question is, do you want me to state all the questions and then you take them all, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, then how does the compliance policy ensure transparency and ethical practices in vendor relationship? Another one is, how does First Bank encourage the culture of whistleblowing? What safeguards are in place to protect whistleblowers? And then the final one, the fourth question is, what are the key implications of the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2023 for an organization's data management practice?
Okay, thank you, Chinwe. In terms of pricing, well, I might not know the kind of pricing he's talking about. The price of using supplying, or maybe is it due to the foreign exchange fluctuations, probably maybe what you supply, and I don't really I can't really say what he's talking about in terms of maybe the price fluctuation as a result of exchange fluctuations. But in terms of ensuring transparency.
The question on pricing will be taken by procurement. Thank you.
Okay.
The question on pricing will be taken up by procurement. Thank you.
Okay. Now, in terms of transparency, how do we ensure transparency in the procurement process? We have the internal audit function, that also audits what they do in procurement, the vendor management, and everything. And we also in compliance we do what we call walkthrough tests and risk assessment of the procurement function. So they know that we normally come to them, we ask about the document, we review, ask questions just to ensure that transparency you are talking about. So on compliance is checking, internal control is checking, internal audit is checking. So you can see that if 3 risk management functions are checking you, then you better sit up. So there is no place, there is only any place for you to hide, because people are actually checking what you are doing. In terms of the whistle blowing activities, I can assure you here in First Bank, we protect the whistleblower. And I can also assure you that, when you will whistleblow, we also investigate to see, to check, how truthful or how factual is the whistleblowing. And like I said, we protect the whistleblower. We don't allow anybody to get to know you, and that is why those channels you see, you can go there. At times you can put your complaint without even putting your names. We just, for us to investigate and get to the root of matter. So I can assure you that if you whistleblow, those that are whistleblowing are seriously protected. Then in terms of the Nigerian data protection policy, we here in the bank, we know the implication if we should divulge information without the consent of the customer. So we, as much as possible, put measures in place to ensure that the data protection policy is strictly adhered to. So over the time, we've been training, like the compliance department have been training other departments in the bank, speaking to people who held the stakeholders engagement to ensure that everybody understands the intricacies and the implication of the data protection, because there are stiff penalties now in the data protection of policy 2023 is more stiffer than the way it is. Also, as a bank, we don't want to fall prey to those devices, so we are ensuring that we put necessary measures in place for a stricter compliance with these regulations. Thank you.
Okay, there's one last question, please. There's one question says, please, this question, okay, sorry. How can you curb third-party influence in contract/bid? For example, retired First Bank senior staffs influencing the contract with their links from inside. So,
well, I think that one we apply. Maybe I will also, like I said, we do our own due diligence because I quite understand that. So that is why we are talking about this related party interest, conflict of interest. Because as a first bank staff, I want to come in. I know you say maybe it's time better chance because you know people inside. So that is why we'll be talking about transparency. That you leave the system very open for everybody to compete. Whether you are a ex-banker, if you don't have the quality, if you don't have what it takes, that job should not be given to you. So we have all this mechanism in place. Like I said, there are measures that we do. Like I said, the internal control, they check what procurement are doing, internal audit checks, and we also in compliance we check. So there is no way when we check all these things, we'll not ask one or two questions that how did this person got this contract, who and who competed, what were their proposals, what were their, so all these things we ask. And I believe if somebody knows that somebody is checking him or her, they want to sit up. So I believe that we have measures in place to actually checkmate some of these excesses, that maybe a staff will do, which the bank actually condemn in totality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to call on Mrs. Omolade. She wants to say something about this.
Yeah. Yes. So just to add to what Edith has said, I think it's very important for our vendors to be given the assurance that in First Bank, we run a very credible process of selection of vendors, of even pre-registering vendors. There's a process around that, and it is a very thorough and rigorous process. So we do not work on the basis that once you are an ex-staff of First Bank, you get an automatic right to pre-qualification or pre-registration. It doesn't happen. Anybody out there who has good products, good services to give to First Bank, we have a process whereby we actually call for vendors to indicate their interest and also to register. And the process of selection is actually done by a cross-functional team within the bank. So we wouldn't want to buy an IT product or an IT services, and the person that will determine the vendor that will get it will be the people sitting in IT. It is a cross-functional independent team that handles the selection of vendors, that handles our technical evaluation process, that handles our price monitoring process. So we just want to give you the assurance that our processes are open, they are transparent, and they are credible. And if at any point in time we find any exception, we will deal with that exception. And like Edith has said, internal audit. That's why they are independent of the business. They are independent of the procurement process, so that they are able to look at any report, whether coming from whistleblower or any other thing that we identify, to ensure that there's no abuse of the process. So we just want to give you that assurance this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am. There's one question from Jocelyn, and Titi Balogun wants to answer that question. And it is there an existing third-party code of conduct that is used by First Bank of Nigeria? If yes, can it be shared with the subsidiary banks for adaptation, consistency, and proper vendor engagement and management? So Jocelyn, Titi Balogun would respond to your question now. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we actually have a third-party code of conduct document, and we would actually share it with our subsidiaries. It's we called you on this call to enable us have a group-wide information. And so thank you for joining us from all our subsidiaries. We'll share that third-party code of conduct with you. The compliance team is also here, and we'll follow up with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Our next speaker is the Chief Data Officer, Steve Asemota, and he will be speaking on the topic data, the opportunity and risk for today's business. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Gemma. Do I share the documents?
Yes, please.
I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, good morning, everyone, on all the partners and vendors of the bank. Thanks for joining us for this session. My name is Steve Asemota, Chief Data Officer at First Bank, and I'll just be speaking on data, the opportunity it creates for your business, and the risk also that you have to take into account. Especially in today's world today's world is really driven by data, really. Most of the big firms globally that you interact with are practically data businesses. If you look at Google, it's a data business. If you look at Meta, it's a data business. Amazon can be a data business, really. Netflix, with its content, but also the recommendations are really driven by data. So your business also should be driven by data. So I'll be speaking on just two themes: deriving value from data and governance that you must adhere to. Now, you will notice that the first speaker was speaking on ESG, was talking about climate change and all the measures. And how do we know climate is changing? Because people are tracking different indicators that speak to climatic conditions, whether it's temperature changes over centuries, whether it's sea levels dropping, whether it's ice caps on mountains depleting. These are all data points that people are collecting. And as you see how things have evolved, you will notice that as this climate change that was being observed, new emerging products started coming to the market. If you look at the automobile industry, you would see that electric vehicles came into the market because the issue was around to reduce carbon emissions to impact climate change positively. The point I'm making here is that data is really driving everything, whether you notice or whether you don't notice. And it can separate you from being a winner or being a loser. In business, specifically. The question is data here is just this about data as the ultimate power. How you need to derive a lot of meaning from the bank, from the vast data available, even to the bank or even to your business, really. Some of you, I don't know the kind of, some of you might collect data in different ways, but I don't know what the level of organization is. Depending on the level of organization, you are able to use it to make decisions on your business. How do you determine what's your price point? Do you use your competitor's price point, or do you use things that are internal to you and things that are external to you? There are different drivers really for determining price. But if you're not a data collecting business, you might underprice yourself or overprice yourself. The same thing is determining who to hire, you know. Excuse me. Determine who to hire. You might not collect enough data sets to be able to determine whether this person is the right customer, right candidate for a particular role. But the long and short is that data will really help you make the right decisions around your business, around the kind of products you should create, around the kind of markets you should enter into, around the prices that you should set, around the kind of RFPs you should actually respond to. If you're a supplier trying to respond to RFPs for a particular segment of business, and you realize that, and you've been collecting data about that firm sends out RFPs but never sends out never selects a winner. So things like that, little things that will impact your operational outcomes and profitable outcomes as well. So really, analytics is not really about the question, it is really the answer. How do you determine what products your customers want today or services? You know what I mean? How do you determine how you compensate your staff? How do you drive when inventories are low? One of the recent, I won't say recent, but maybe over a decade ago, or 2 decades really, okay, maybe about a decade and a half, has been this whole, when e-commerce became a big deal. And you see that now almost every retailer, whether it's a small supplier or big supplier, uses e-commerce platforms to track inventory. So you upload your inventory data there, and as you sell, it depletes, right? So you can track when to actually buy the next load, right? So you can properly plan. Now, without data, people are not able to plan. People are using different narratives to plan. Okay, maybe I see that around Christmas time, the demand might increase, and then I'll buy a lot for Christmas and I'll just disperse. Now, if you look at a particular year where maybe inflation is high, maybe cost of living has increased, and maybe wages are a bit low, and you now buy the same product with the same price point, you notice that you might face a challenge selling out all the products. But determining how these data points kind of converge will help you determine the kind of the number of products to buy for market in a particular season, right? Because you're keeping track of all the drivers of sales, not just the volume. You're looking at the price, you're looking at the inflation level, you're looking at cost of living, you're looking at salaries, those kind of things, right? So there are a lot of factors you take into account in trying to determine. You're a vendor of First Bank, so if you are data-driven in your own area, you determine what kind of things First Bank would want. As you look towards next year, you might get a sense that, okay, you heard a story around ESG, you had a talk around ESG, talking about my colleagues in compliance, look at their compliance, and you might do some of that. Those presentation might give you a sense as to kind of how to position yourself as a vendor, right, to provide services to the bank. Now, within data and AI space, you've heard a lot of, I heard a lot about predictive models, AI models here and there. At least recently, you might have heard of, large language models, which generative AI is driving with ChatGPT and all that. But I'll just come down to a level below that, for your business to be an effective business, you must use data to be able to predict what things that you need to might impact the outcomes of your business, right? It's better to use an enterprise approach when you're starting off, because you want your enterprise to pull along the same line, right? You also need to get a lot of senior level support within your organization. Now, I speak to organization irrespective if you're a one-man organization, two-man organization, really, because at the end of the day, the ability to pull that together is not really a function of how big you are. For example, if I'm a retailer who has a store on Amazon or store on Jumia or whatever, all my activity level data might be available there, right? I just need to have a tool to kind of visualize it, to kind of get a sense of it, and use that to make decisions for my business, right? Now, although data is I mean, the value of data cannot be overemphasized when you hear of hacking instances. The reason why the guys, the cyber criminals, are targeting your data is because it's valuable. They can sell it in the black market. They can use it for fraud. They can use it to impersonate. Many things are impacted. Can be derived from data, whether nefarious or positive, right? So it's important that we take data quite seriously. Now, so data security is important. We also collect data and maintain a sense of high ethics and integrity about data we collect. Data quality is also important. And also, like my colleague in compliance was saying earlier, we also have this regulation in Nigeria that governs how we process data, and I'll speak to that in a little bit. So there's I'll just briefly speak to you because my colleague in compliance spoke to it a lot. I mean, a bit. So in the NDPA, which is the Nigerian Data Protection Act, right? These are some of the key terms that you need to take into account, because some of you who are vendors for First Bank also serve as third-party processors for First Bank data, depending on the scenario. Maybe you're a technical partner, maybe you're a switch, maybe whatever it is you might play. So you must take into account this thing, because when we have this third-party agreements, you notice that in your contract, you see a section around data protection and a couple of clauses there that kind of binds you into compliance, right, with whatever regulations that we are adhering to, right? So you must also be mindful of these things so that you don't get yourself into a position whereby you might be liable for some damages and things like that. So in most cases, we are data controller, and you might be, depending on third party, you might be a processor, right? Processing data for a particular objective. There are some of the things you must take into account as a processor. We have the right to audit you. We have the right to, you shouldn't share our data without our own consent. You shouldn't change the location of our data without our own consent. You shouldn't move data from, say, Lagos to New York because it costs you less, but without our consent. Those kind of things. You find many of these clauses in our contract. So please make sure you take a look at that quite carefully, and make sure you adhere to those. There's just some of the differences, just in case you wanna get a sense. If you process on our behalf, you don't govern it, you don't control it, you just adhere to whatever it is we tell you to do. Because we are the ones that are the frontline controllers who have who collect the rights of processing from our customers directly. So you are just an enabler supporting us, and we're paying you for that. So you adhere to the guidance that the bank provides. And these are some of the principles. I think my colleague in compliance had this. I won't spend too much time on it. But I'll just give you a sense. The way you collect data must be lawful, must be transparent, and must be fair, right? If you're going to process personal data, these are the lawful basis to process. Consent is a key one, which is the most popular one. There's also contractual obligations, right? If there's a contract that makes you that needs you to process, there's a legal obligation, there's vital interest, there's public interest and legitimate interest. But you must understand these things. They're not the same. You must understand the differences between each of these lawful bases and understand which one applies. And as my colleague said earlier, the new Data Protection Bureau or commission really is really empowered to penalize you very harshly, or any business very harshly, if you don't adhere to any of these lawful basis of processing. This is just purpose limitation, saying that you must limit the purpose for which you are processing data. If you have a new purpose to process data, you need to go back and get consent again if it applies to you. Talks about accuracy. You must ensure that you have data your processing is accurate, and then that means the data subject has a right to update the data they have with you. Also, storage limitation, and that means you cannot keep data forever. You only keep it for the purpose and for the time required for that purpose. After which you keep it longer for the purpose of if there's a regulation that forces you to keep it, otherwise you let it go. Yeah, also accountable, and the new act kind of highlights that a lot. So I think you should look at that in more detail to see how you're accountable, because there won't be any excuses accepted by the commission. This is just talking about the rights of data subjects. So a data subject has a right to access information about themselves, have a right to rectify data you have about them, and that speaks to the same accuracy point I made earlier. They have a right to be forgotten, a right to erasure. Now, this right also comes with a clause, meaning you have the right to erasure, but there might be some reasons why you can't erase what you have about them. It might be regulatory reasons, whatever the reasons are, but you have to kind of communicate to the subject why you're not able to erase. Right to restrict processing. So a data subject can your customer really, and tell you, look, I don't want you to use my data for A or B or C, and you have to adhere to that. And you notice that the commission can audit you. And so you also have a right to keep records you also have to keep records of all these activities, because that's the only way you can defend yourself. Saying you have no records might not help you at all. Right to data portability is just really saying that the subject has a right to move data from one place to another. Now, these are all fair and good, but we also look at the maturity of the market. The market is still maturing when it comes to data management and data practices. And so I'm sure that maybe some of you might be at different levels of maturity. But if you also need some kind of guidance, you should feel free to kind of reach out, and we can probably help just point you in the right direction, besides using your DPCOs. So these are the things you can take into account about the right of data subjects. Please don't infringe on data subject rights. So this is really the end of the presentation. I just want to kind of highlight things around value of data and the governance rules that we need to adhere to. I hope it's been helpful to someone.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I'm sure our partners have heard the laws of that guides the processing of data, the rights of the data subjects, and the benefits of analytics to our business and the data that we have in our organization. So before we progress to the next speaker, I would like to acknowledge the presence of and welcome the Executive Director and Group Chief Financial Officer, First Bank of Nigeria and subsidiary, Mr. Patrick Iyamabo. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to this program.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Are you still presenting? Sorry, thank you.
No, I just wanted to respond to one comment that was shared earlier around the use
AI.
of AI. Yes.
Thank you.
There was a comment around why people are not using AI as much in their business, even when it is sometimes easy to use. I mean, there are tools, there are available AI consumables, like even on Teams, you have this Firefly that helps you kind of take notes and all that. You have different tools that can help you kind of improve your productivity. So I guess maybe people are a bit wary. Either they are wary or maybe not as unaware. But there are very many, I mean, everyone probably knows of ChatGPT, which people kind of use to kind of generate content for different purposes now. I guess that scenario can also highlight the risks with AI, meaning that you can generate content that doesn't originate from you. You can go and write papers that you have no idea about because you have a large language model process generating content that's relevant to the question you might have. You've also seen cases of impersonation, right? Whereby I can train your voice and I can impersonate you and call somebody with similarly as you and have a conversation with the person, and the person might believe that it's you that's speaking, and therefore take some actions that may be negatively impacting them, So I guess maybe that's the reason why people are a bit wary, but they are very positive tools. Like if you've got Teams, Max has a lot of tools that are AI enabled that I think vendors can consider. And every other platform owner really they have different tools. But also as you use these tools, let's be mindful of the risks, right? Just be on guard and always study about ethical use of AI tools, so that at least you don't get yourself in a position where you might be a victim of any kind of AI enabled fraud. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So, Chama, do we have any more questions for Steve?
One minute more. Let me just go to the chat box and see. Please. Yes, I have 2 questions for him. Can businesses integrate diverse data sources to maximize their impact on strategic business decisions while considering privacy and ethical concerns? That's one question. The second question is, what are some technical considerations in determining and documenting the lawful basis for processing personal data? And how can organizations ensure compliance with relevant legal frameworks? There's another question, the last one. How can organizations...
Hold on, Chama. I'm not sure he got the question. So, Steve, would you like to take the questions one, because they seem a little bit technical? Would you like to take them one after the other?
Yes, I can take them quickly, one after the other, if possible.
Chama, please take the first one, Chama. Thank you.
First one again is, how can business integrate diverse data sources to maximize their impact on strategic business decisions while considering privacy and ethical concerns?
Okay. So I mean, integration of data within, I don't know, depending on the different data sources you might be tapping into, you know. You find that many of these open data sources platform will have API integration endpoint where you can just subscribe, use an API connection to get a lot of data payload, and you can put in your own internal database, I guess. If you have, today it's very easy to have an Azure subscription or AWS subscription or Google subscription, and then just have API connect, just call service of APIs from wherever you want to call them, and then bring data into a particular data hub and within any of those platforms, and then you can analyze as much as possible. Now, the question around ethical use, we need to be mindful of the fact that of the data sets you are connecting into, ensure that the data that you're being sold or being shared or that's being shared with you has consent backing it, or is on some lawful basis for the purpose of sharing, so you don't kind of acquire some liability, right? So I think those are the things you need to consider when trying to integrate. Obviously, you need to think technically on the model. So you're collecting data that has some kind of logical relationship with each data set. Not just collecting data from suppliers one corner, and then maybe bus drivers in that corner that don't have any kind of link. It might not be a good use of that integration activity. So, but there are many tools in the market that you could leverage. The key thing is having a repository where you can actually bring them together and analyze.
Thank you. So the second question is, what are some technical considerations in determining and documenting the lawful basis for processing personal data, and how can organizations ensure compliance with relevant legal frameworks?
So, I mean, the lawful bases are quite plain text, so quite easy to follow. You just need to be intentional about them. You know, most like people might want to look for like gray area, so you need to kind of avoid those kind of scenarios. If the lawful basis is consent, then just ensure that within your data collection process, you have consent enabled. Ensure that there is evidence of consent. So customer, or whoever it is, your customer might be, check the box of consent, you record that event as customer A provided consent at this day and time for this purpose. So you can have it for your own record. That way you save yourself any arguments when somebody might report that, oh, he didn't provide, he or she didn't provide consent. The other lawful basis, some of them are easy to comply with. For example, if there's a legal requirement, if there's a court injunction that says provide this information, that's legal, right? So you have to comply with that, except there's something else you can back yourself up with. If the national security reasons the government says it demands A or B, and it's a legal directive, I mean, then you kind of have to process. When it comes to interest, like there are some scenarios in healthcare where somebody is not able to make decisions on their own. They have no, for the purpose of saving their lives, you might need to process data. So that's a valid scenario, right? You have a contract to process. Outside of concern about the contractual by your contractually bound, and you can also process. But I think it's quite straightforward, and if you're really, really intentional about it, you wouldn't fall into any of the loopholes that might exist.
And the third question, I have one more question from the chat box after I relay this one. So how can organizations effectively implement governance, the data governance framework to ensure the data is yielded at an ultimate power of strategic decision making?
So the simple, I guess, easy response to that is just really ensure you are able to govern data across its life cycle. So as data is being collected, you must kind of figure out what policies you need to apply to govern the collection process, quality of data you're collecting. Then you must also think about the storage of data. What are the policies you need to apply around storage? You have to think about access and utilization. What are the policies around utilization of data? How should you direct data assets to yield value for you? So it's kind of nimble way, but you have to kind of be very intentional about it. But so the policies from data creation, data storage, data utilization, and as data ages, as data becomes older, think of your archiving, think of your warehousing, think of your downstream data products that you can create. So if you look at it from end to end, and it's easy to just see. But in terms of popular policies, you have DAMA. DAMA is an organization that's focused on data management. They have some interesting frameworks that you can actually leverage as well that are publicly available.
Thank you, Steve. So the last question is, has First Bank considered blockchain for supply chain visibility, especially in dealing with hundreds or thousands of vendors across all business units?
Yes. First Bank has considered that. I'm aware that there's some exploratory activity going on with my colleagues in innovation and trying to look at ways to use supply blockchain or a smart contract kind of thing. I'll kind of interrogate to kind of get a sense where things are, but I know that exploratory activity has been going on for a bit.
Thank you so much. That's the last question.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I acknowledge the presence of the Executive Director and Group Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Patrick Iyamabo. Welcome, sir.
Shoma, thank you very much. Titi and Co. Okay, Shoma, thank you very much. And Titi and Co, thanks for the opportunity to be in this session. I think I would just like to make a quick comment or two while we have this fantastic opportunity to have all our vendors. I'd like to refer to you all as strategic partners in this meeting. So just to say a big thank you for all the support you've given us all this time, all these years, enabling us to serve our customers in terms of meeting their needs and in some instances doing that better than our peers can possibly do. So I know we typically use the term vendors, but we see you as strategic partners. Strategic partners because you're part of the ecosystem that helps ensure that we can offer our customers products and services and ensure we do that better than most of our peers. So strategically, you're extremely, extremely critical to our success and to that ecosystem that we have in place. I thought it would also be helpful to, since we have you all on the call, to help you better appreciate the lens through which we look at this relationship and this partnership. And when we think about a strategic partner in the supply chain system, the questions we're constantly asking ourselves is that partner able to offer us great prices? Is the partner able to offer us high quality solutions? And by solutions, I mean either products or services. Is the turnaround time from the partner one of the best you can get in the industry? Is the service delivery from the partner reliable? So in other words, it's not great today or tomorrow. So in other words, consistently that way. And I want to say is First Bank the first institution that comes to mind when the strategic partner has a great idea that can offer a bank or any institution competitive advantage in the marketplace. It always comes down to who can work with us to deliver for us that differentiated proposition, that competitive advantage in the marketplace. It's a competitive place, and it is the institution who can do things better than others that stands out clearly. And so that's the lens through which we look at our partners, and would really appreciate you think through these lenses when you interact with us. And it's our viewpoint that if you do that consistently, your value proposition to First Bank will be higher accordingly. And of course, please do not hesitate to let us know what we can do to make the partnership work as best as it possibly can. Again, we re-emphasize, it is about working with us in a collaborative manner such that we have a differentiated proposition. We have a competitive advantage over other banks. So having said that, I would like to say on behalf of the management of First Bank, just to say a big thank you for all the support we've given us all these years. We've been around for about 130 years, and we do plan to be around for even much longer. And as such, this relationship can essentially last into infinity. So thank you on that. I can't resist commenting on a discussion point I had earlier on. I think one of the question was raised around ex-staff potentially having a leg up, not just a leg up, an unfair advantage in the sourcing process. I'd like to re-echo the feedback or the comments, responses made by my colleagues. Those opinions represent the organizational stand of that matter. But given the sensitivity and importance, I'd just like to lend my voice as well. Please, should you, and it's not just about ex-staff, should you find a situation where a vendor has unfair advantage over others for whatever reason, I think it's important you speak up. We have the whistle blow channels use them. They are very reliable. They are confidential. Whatever comes through that channel gets actioned. If you do not whistleblow, I think you just do yourself a terrible disservice, because how does it make sense that you are working with an institution that is seeking that operates world-class standards, and you allow some other party misbehave and get a leg up over you? So I think you owe yourselves the duty to speak up. And then on the other hand, too, if indeed you say you are our strategic partner and you are collaborating with us for success, then it is your duty to also help me succeed. So you do owe me a fiduciary responsibility to call it out for my own sake, as well as First Bank. So either way, the way we look at it, from a strategic partnership point of view, there is no scenario under which you should observe these things, if at all they occur, or let me say this thing, if at all it occurs, but there's no scenario under which you should observe this, and you don't speak up. And be rest assured, we will deal with it in an expedited manner, and there will be absolutely no risk of disclosing the whistleblower or putting your person or business with First Bank at risk in any way whatsoever. Indeed, and for us, it's a huge, huge credit to your institution if you're able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I'll call on the next speaker, Mr. Abiodun Akintoye from the Operational Risk Department. He's representing the Head Operational Risk, Business Continuity Management, Mr. Duke Abadu. Welcome, Abiodun.
Right, thank you very much, Chioma. Once again, I'd like to say good morning to members of the Senior and Executive Management on this session and all our strategic partners. So very quickly, we're looking at a very critical topic that speaks to mitigating reputational risk in supply chain. Listening to the earlier presenters, Dr. Yelda, that's talking about green procurement, and also Basse, Edit rather, on how we can embed compliance culture. So one of the outcomes which they mentioned, so for me, which is very key, is that through this, including even the chief data officer's presentation, everything we do directly or indirectly will impact on our reputation as an institution. And so today is very key as we look at this short presentation for us as our strategic partners to begin to look at how do we increase the brand equity of our institution. If we check a documentary that was also run by CNN in 2020 that speaks to 100 business clubs that have existed or thrived for over a century, we'll see First Bank feature, and there are a whole lot of other institutions, what they have consistently been known for over the years in terms of high quality product, in terms of corporate governance, in terms of how they are dealing with their stakeholders. So that speaks volume on what we're looking at today. So very quickly, I go to the outline. This is the outline. We look at the intro, imperative for mitigating reputational risk in supply chain, triggers, consequences, the principles and philosophy, and of course, then we narrow down to strategies for mitigating reputational risk, and then wrap up. So we can see like 3 quotes. I'll just speak to. The first one says, "It takes many good deeds to build a good reputation, and only one bad ones to lose it," by Benjamin Franklin. I mean, this is self-explanatory. that we need to consistently, as our strategic partners, for the good things that we're known for, to continue to do that. But just one incident can actually trigger reputational risk. So reputational risk, for an organization to achieve its strategic objectives and continue to maintain its market share, even expand, then this needs to be prioritized and also to be put on the front burner. The last one, the strength of our business lies in the strength of it. The strength of a business lies in the strength of its supply chain. We cannot but overemphasize this, which is why the overall theme for today is on innovative practices and collaborative strategy for a greener tomorrow. We need to continue to leverage the win-win for us as an institution and, of course, for our strategic partners. So reputational risk, does it really matter in supply chain? What are people, or what are they saying about you as an institution? So today, if you pick any of the social media, whether Meta, Instagram, any, just mention them. So what would you find out about your institution? Will it be positive or negative? Yes, we are talking about reputational risk, but let's also know that when we talk about risk, it has two dimensions. So of course, the downside is what we're looking at majorly on how to mitigate things that can trigger reputational risk, reduce our brand equity, and then for us to continue to remain as a going concern. However, let us not forget also that our brand, which is our reputation, will also help us if we leverage on it to maximize the attendance opportunity that comes, from this. Is your reputation costing the business? Is a food for thought. Very quickly, there's a survey done by, Gartner. Gartner is an international research and consulting firm that rank corporate organizations based on key attributes. One, that speaks to their leadership and innovation, in championing, ESG. That's, sustainable and sustainability and other ESG initiative. They've also demonstrated excellence, in supply chain management and of course, diversified product and providing, solutions. The last but not the least, talk about they having cutting edge, technology. So and you can see the list of them. You can find other ranking where, for instance, I'm sure we've heard of Fortune 500. When you check, you see other organizations like Apple coming on the lead. But within the team we're looking at today on how organizations need to contribute effectively to a greener tomorrow by Gartner, these 25 institutions have actually they have carved a niche for themselves. Reputational risk can result majorly in three ways: directly as a result of the action of the company, and some of them we mentioned. So for us as First Bank, because we operate in an industry that is highly regulated, so you want to find out, define metrics that we measure that can trigger reputational risk. One of it is regulatory compliance. The ED has talked about service delivery, and then also how do we deal with customer complaints, staff attrition, and the rest of them like that. Essentially, reputational risk, will crystallize if an institution is not paying attention to this action. Secondly, indirectly to the action of its employees, or whether present, employees indirectly due to actions of an employees or employees. So where employees are critical stakeholders in the reputational risk value chain, so it's important for us to begin to look at the kind of staff, right from the point of selection and the recruitment of this staff. How are they embedding, the corporate culture that we stand for? It's very key. And of course, tangentially, which is very critical now, as a result of a partnership with third parties. So for us, you are strategic partners, but some of us may also have third parties, which we also rely on in doing business. So it means this will also need to be also communicated to them. What are the imperatives for mitigating reputational risk and then triggers? One, of course, is the fact that the changing perspective of stakeholders and governance. Stakeholders, we're talking about our customers, we're talking about, the regulators, we're talking about, our shareholders, we're talking about our staff, including, we have even a rating agency, we're talking about the general public. So increasingly, these stakeholders, we are becoming more aware, calling for transparency and accountability, which is why we need to actually put this on the radar. Also, advancement in technology and internet is very key. All of us, wherever we are attending this session from, we all have a smartphone. One single negative media in any of the social media could trigger reputational risk. So the advancement in technology and also internet and radical change in the media has given rise to also reputational risk. Globalization also led to serious competition. So we operate in a competitive industry, and all of us, even our strategic partners, in the industry which we operate, we also have competitors. So it's very, very key. The last but not the least is the importance of intangible asset. Our reputation is our goodwill, is an intangible asset that we need to protect indefinitely. So this is why, as we see in our annual report of corporate organizations, we need to put our vision statement, what we're doing in terms of, CSR, which is one of the key things we're looking at today, and the rest of them. These are some of the triggers. I will not waste much time on this in terms of reputational risk driver. We can see for corporate governance and leadership. For us, our institution, having existed for close to 130 years, we have a robust and effective corporate governance, in place, right from the board to top management, and it goes on like that even to the operational level in the bank. How we do things, the tone from the top is very high. So you can see some of the triggers without going through them. Regulatory compliance, so much has been said. Delivering customer promise, very key. Security failure, shortfall in quality of service, unacceptable behavior of employees. Moving on, corporate responsibility and sustainability, we've talked about it. So corporate culture, I cannot but to continue to emphasize this. The corporate culture, how transparent, how ethical, code of conduct, probity. These are things that we use to actually measure how an institution will continue to that has a good reputation will imbibe. And where there are triggers, some of these triggers will lead to reputational risk. What's the control environment? The risk and control environment is also very key, so that we always need things in the board from snowballing into a crisis. Moving on, so in terms of consequences, there are serious consequences, a loss of customers, current and even potential customer, loss of revenue, fines and penalties. So today, if you check our institution, our regulator, year on year, if the penalties and sanctions continue to rise, it speaks volume to our reputation. High staff turnover. Yes, nobody wants to stay with an institution that the reputation is not okay. Yeah, loss of business and the rest like that. And the worst one is loss of operating license. Ultimately, when the reputation of the organization is really, really bad as a result of these things we've mentioned. We have case study just to drive home our point, and without looking at it, you can see Meta. One single incident for Meta, the SYL Facebook, not paying attention to issue around data privacy, where situation where data of people were found on the dark web. Imagine that. Again, you have HSBC, a global financial institution, was hit with a scandal and has to pay whooping penalties of 1.9 billion for changes as a result of issues on control failures and the rest. Reputational risk principles and philosophies. In First Bank, we have actually imbibed this. Like I said, the tone from the top for reputational risk is very high, starting with the corporate governance, the board, and across the entire enterprise. Majorly, the bank has put this in place, which we also want our strategic partners, to also take a look and see how they can replicate that. Zero tolerance for non-compliance with laws and regulatory guidelines, full compliance with the bank code of conduct and even our internal policies, strict ethical behavior by board and executive management, transparency, probity in the management of resources, and it goes on like that. We also have effective communication with bank visions, strategy to all stakeholders. And our strategic partner, you're one of our major stakeholders. So how do we mitigate reputational risk? For want of time, it's important to stress that, just like I have mentioned, that if we're not paying attention to our reputation or reputational risk, this can result into loss of customers, revenue, shareholders' value, our goodwill, which is also an intangible asset. Hence, as our strategic partners, we need to continue to prioritize and ensure events that can trigger reputational risk are nipped in the bud before becoming a major crisis. So in terms of our response or suggestion, one, we need to have a robust and effective corporate governance practices and framework, very key. And even today, we've mentioned on the ESG, environmental, social, and governance framework. We also need to get involved in corporate and social responsibility initiatives, which the doctor has also emphasized. We need to identify, prioritize, and report the main causes of reputational risk. So implement a robust supply chain due diligence for onboarding, now for our own third parties that will also engage in providing services to us in First Bank. We need to do periodic assessment of our supply chain partners, live against industry best practices, and of course, regulation. Regular assessment and monitoring of third parties and suppliers' reputational risk. Again, we cannot but overemphasize, because one of the things that can trigger reputational risk is if there is a business disruption, either man-made or even natural disaster, and then we cannot recover and to continue to render services to our stakeholders, then there will be a reputational risk from that. So we cannot but overemphasize the need to have a robust business continuity plan, crisis plan, disaster recovery plan for those of us in technology space, and even crisis communication plan. How do we communicate to our stakeholders when there is a major incident that will, incapacitate our effort to provide our services? Also develop a reputational risk management framework. We've mentioned that. Report issues that can affect the company's reputation through appropriate channels. We've also mentioned that we've talked about, whistleblowing. So in First Bank, some of the metrics that we also track, we look at how many, staff or how many people are victimized as a result of whistleblowing as we present our reports. And to be honest, in the last several years, there's none at all, just to buttress the point that we can whistleblow if there is a need. Nip minor incidents in the board early enough. We've mentioned that act quickly and responsibly while doing anything within our power to positively influence, people's idea. That is very key. Also, last but not the least, is the need to also organize training for our staff, to understand that the risk that reputational risk posed to our institution. There are several risks that we talk about, but once we are now meeting up the expectation of our stakeholders, then reputational risk is around the corner. It's a risk, secondary risk that we need to deal with. In conclusion, building and maintaining a solid reputation plays a significant role in achieving strategic objective and the overall success of an organization. That cannot but be emphasized. It's imperative for our strategic partners to embrace sustainability, innovative practices, collaborative strategies without putting their reputations at risk for a greener tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Abiodun, for that presentation. For us, just want to reiterate some of the mitigants that you have earlier stated. Mitigants that can be implemented to manage reputational risk, one of which is the robust and effective corporate governance practices and the frameworks, getting involved in corporate and social responsible initiatives, implementing a robust supply chain due diligence for all our vendors at onboarding, and then periodic assessment of our partners against industry best practices and regulation. I would like to go to the chat box and take some questions now for you. The first question I see here is, how does the foundation of reputational risk management align with the overall business goals and values? That's the first question. Do you want to take it, or should I repeat it?
Yeah, I get it. How does the foundation of reputational risk align to business goals and values, right?
Yes, please.
I would say they are both intertwined. For you to even your values, just like we have talked about, in terms of your corporate governance, I want to use corporate governance in the sense that where you talk about your vision, your mission statement, even your core values. So, for instance, for us in First Bank, our core values: epic, entrepreneurship, professionalism, innovation, and customer centricity. So these things, speaks to your reputation. Is that the root of your reputation? So if it makes or mark your reputational institution. So if you're not embracing, core values, and then embedding good corporate culture, and which for me, it starts from you defining your core values and not only embracing that, ensuring that, is embedded in the institution, then it means the organization reputation or brand, equity over time will continue to reduce and ultimately to impact on the bottom line, because that's your goodwill. Thank you.
Thank you. So the second question here is, what are some ways by which an organization can actively engage with stakeholders to enhance reputational risk management in the supply chain?
Okay, so thanks so much for that. I think that's why we are here. So, for instance, for all our strategic partners, it's one of the reasons why we're engaging us. So, what I would say to that is that we all know our stakeholders. So, if I am XYZ Company Limited or PLC, it's just for me to say who are my stakeholders. I would mention them, starting with your customers, your vendor. If you also have third parties that you use, your staff or employees are very key. Your shareholders very key. Of course, the investing public, and even if you also your regulator. So what this means is that we need to have a good rapport with all the stakeholders. There are expectations from them. So reputation means is a collection of beliefs, perceptions, or judgment, by your existing stakeholders or even from their expectation. So if you've defined the stakeholders, which we've mentioned, you also need to know their expectations. And their expectations are not far-fetched from what we're looking at today in terms of contributions to greener tomorrow, from sustainability, having, ESG initiatives. So the first thing is, one, you can have a session with them like we're having, for you to actively engage them. So you get feedback from them, and then you can do a survey also just to find out, feedback from them. If you run through the social media, if I run a search now by names of organization for negative media publicity or negative news with the name of the company comes forth. So if it is, it means there's need for an engagement. So I think that's very key. So I'm not just a one-off stop, a continuous engagement. And so if you have also vendor, let's not forget we need to also ensure we have a robust onboarding process. And apart from that, from time to time, like we said, we should do assessment, also communicate and give feedback to these vendors. So I think from that, it will show that actively we're engaging them. We shouldn't just leave the stakeholders. We need to continue to engage them through meetings, through feedback, communication of what our expectation is and where they're not meeting our expectation. One of the things we talk about now for third parties is that we need to do an assessment or performance evaluation, and then where they are not pulling their weight, of course, we give feedback, and it will form the basis to redefine relationship, in the long term. So I think this just, and ensure they also have policy. We've mentioned the policy now. So the takeaway for us now, as strategic partners, if we don't have ESG framework, is to also say, as I go back, how do I have ESG framework? We need to also have a reputational risk policy or framework. How do I need to do that? Define the metrics, and then the governance and the philosophy, and roles and responsibilities, and so on and so forth. Thank you, Choma. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gordon, for that insightful presentation, and thank you for the responses to the questions. Before I call in our next and final speaker, but I just want to say thank you to everyone, our guests, our speakers, and our partners for staying with us till this up to this point. Thank you for joining the webinar. If you joined in late, we welcome you. We will now move on to our next and final speaker, who is Mrs. Helen Ihono. She's the head SME products and E&RP. She'll be taking on the bank's product. Well, share that with our vendors. Thank you and welcome, Helen. Hello, Helen, I think you're muted, please. Hello, Helen, can you kindly unmute yourself?
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me now. Yes. Thank you so much, Chioma. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So I stand on existing protocol and going to run us through empowering SMEs, sustainable solutions and collaborative strategy for environmental innovation in business. So as Chioma had said, from SME banking and money transfer, and I had the other SME products, in First Bank. So this is the outline of our presentation. And without repeating what my colleagues and Dr. Nyanda has said, just want to, what is innovation as it relates to SMEs? And innovation simply means taking something that already exists and improving on it or creating something entirely new. And in terms of our business activities, because it actually impacts on the environment. When we talk about our energy consumption, green gas emission, waste generation, resource depletion, how do we, in carrying out our business, in relating with our principals and even our staff, how do we improve on all this? So we say that some of the ways to improve on our environment as we do our business could mean recycling of used materials, use of technology to improve our businesses and processes. Okay, so overview of MSME. Remember, I said I'm from SME banking. So when we talk about SME banking, we talk about you who are in business. And according to Smedan classification of SMEs, recently they introduced the nano SMEs, which is SMEs that employ between 1 and 2 and 2 staff, or those that employ the micro that employ between 1 and 10 staff, or the small that employ above 10 to 49, or maybe you talk about the medium that employ from 50 to 200 to 200. So these are SMEs, and us as suppliers or vendors or contractors, we fall within these categories. So these are important numbers that usually is we throw up for SMEs. So within the SME space, we have SMEDAN saying that we have in Nigeria 39.7 million SMEs. And out of these 39.7 million, 71% of them are micro SMEs, and even 98% are unregistered. Of course, I know that, the vendors of First Bank, we have registered businesses, so you wouldn't fall within this 98% that are unregistered businesses. Okay, so, and also SMEs contribute 48% to GDP. And when you talk about age of business, so you see that 49% is between 1 to 5 years, while 31% is between 6 to 10 years. Only about 13% is between 11 to 13 years. That shows you the age of business. And also there's also a survey that says that SMEs, die within 1 to 5 years. But of course, I know that many of us have been in business, and the reason why we're collaborating and partnering is to ensure that our SMEs, do not die, but that their business even outlive them and they're able to transfer to the next generation. So the numbers also tell us that we have a youth or gender-led business currently in Nigeria, because 67% of businesses in terms of prime movers or owners, we see that 67%, about that number is between the age of 18 to 35 years. That's to show that young people are going into business, So there's this craze about people leave school. I don't know if it's driven by unemployment, but you see the demography tending to young people doing businesses. Then 43% are women-led, either women-led businesses or women-owned businesses. Okay, so we also discovered that there are certain challenges that hamper SME businesses in Nigeria, and this has been summarized, to mean access to finance, inconsistent government policy, lack of infrastructure, lack of business structure, multiple taxation, and the like, or even high effects. So these are factors that usually affect business. And for us as a bank, how do we help out? So for us to help, there are also some factors that we as SMEs who are in business needs to know. We're expected to understand the business where we are. We're talking about greener tomorrow now. We're talking about sustainability. We're talking about innovation. In our business, we need to understand the business where we are. How do we innovate? How do we ensure that our business remain competitive? Who are your competitors? Can you stay the tide of time? Market environment. So you, as an SME, you need to constantly build capacity to learn and also to qualify for a bank loan. A lot of times we've seen, SMEs not really being able to qualify for loans, not because the banks do not want to lend to them, but they do not meet the requirements. While not trying to bore you, we have a list of requirements, usually that are that we need to provide when we come for, or need to have as SMEs when we try to access bank loan. Of course, number one, like I said, I believe we've gone through, we've gone beyond that, but proper financial record is very important. Adequate sales turnover. What is your cash flow from business, your team, and all that. Your valid BVN for the prime mover and directors. We've seen instances where some directors are no longer active in the business. And when the business owners are asked to provide the BVN of this director, they say we cannot provide because we don't even know where they are. So if that is the case, you need to go to CAC and revalidate your value. You need to remove inactive directors and all that. So when you come to take loan, it is not a problem for you. You need to also adopt e-channels in your business, the KYC documentation, clean credit bureau report. Don't wait till you want to take a loan before we now tell you that you have one small amount pending somewhere in one credit bureau. report. You can run this report on your own to confirm whether you have a clean credit bureau report, because it's going to affect when you want to take loan. Irrevocable domiciliation of business proceeds or sales proceeds. Usually for us as suppliers here, now we know that when we give us loan, as we go into the loan products, we'll tell you, the requirements. Being able to irrevocably domicile your proceeds will enable you to get loans that will help you in your business. And that speaks also integrity, not being able to go change those domiciliations, not about First Bank, but you could also be suppliers in other organizations. These are the things that help us, to be able to lend to you as a business. Now we go to our products, some of our products to SMEs, and speaking to our vendors, we have a LPO finance, which is, of course, you have a PO from a First Bank to supply certain products. We can finance this by giving you 70% of cost of execution to enable you meet the requirements for supplying to a First Bank. And then you have 90 days tenure, also attractive pricing, which is sometimes may be negotiable depending on the volume, so we said the principal has to be in an approved list. So like a First Bank is in an approved list. So you have a First Bank PO, you can approach any of our relationship teams in any of our branches where your account is domiciled to take LPO finance. So you will be able to supply whatever the bank has given you a PO to supply immediately without waiting. Okay, invoice discounting is another product that whereby you have already even done the supply, or you have done a contract for the bank, but you're awaiting payment, but you need to meet some other needs, other operating needs of your business. You need to pay your salary. You need to also even do another supply. You can take advantage of our invoice discounting facility, where we can give up to a maximum of about 100 million, but subject to 70% of the invoice value. This comes with no additional collateral. All we take is domiciliation of payments. Also in LPO, we can also do domiciliation alone depending on the nature of the supply. So we have our contract finance as well, where you have to, maybe there's a construction, a renovation, fabrication of any equipment or machinery, contract you have been given. The bank would also finance that by giving you up to 70% of cost of execution. And payment for contract finance, the tenor for that is up to 180 days, while that of IDF is about 60 days. Now, as an SME, you may have need of operational vehicle. Maybe you need to buy a vehicle to facilitate your business. It can even be that you've grown so much and you want to buy a status car for your staff. We can finance that by giving you our operational vehicle finance, facility, so that you can buy the vehicle, brand new vehicle, and you spread the payment, and then you're able to pay from the proceeds of your business. Tenure is usually between 24 to 36 months, depending on the brand of the vehicle. But you have to also make an equity contribution of 30%. And then we have our asset finance that enables SMEs to furnish their offices. You want to buy office furniture, you want to buy your systems, laptops, we can give you our asset finance. Or even you want to buy generator or even solar for your electricity. So the bank can give you asset finance where you provide 30% equity, and we give a maximum of 20 million for this, and you can pay within 18 months. Okay, so we have other products that are not here, depending on your need as a business. So the bank is willing to support the growth of your business by ensuring that financing is not a challenge like we saw in the earlier slide. Okay, so we have our deposit products. Because First Bank is an SME-friendly bank, and we understand the challenge and the needs of SMEs, we came up with a dedicated, specific product, a deposit product for SMEs. And these products are called First SME current account. And it's broken into First SME Classic and First SME Deluxe. We have a third variant, but that third variant doesn't speak to you, like I said, because if you have a registered business, it doesn't speak to you. So this First SME Classic enables you to operate your current account, AMC free. However, you will need to keep minimum deposit operating balance of 50,000 in your account at every point in time to be able to enjoy zero AMC. This is up to a maximum turnover limit of 100 million. So if you do a turnover above 100 million, then you will pay AMC at 50 kobo, which is still a discounted AMC charge, at 50 kobo, and just our way of saying, of supporting SMEs in their businesses. This account also allows you to enjoy loan facilities. However, if you are requesting for an overdraft, remember that the minimum operating balance is on your current account. An overdraft will be on your current account. On that instance, you may need to pay AMC for the period that the overdraft runs because of the way it is on the system. For the Deluxe, First SME Deluxe, minimum operating balance is 1 million. So when we talk about the medium SMEs that employ up to 200 staff, 50 to 200 staff, and you have grown, your capacity have grown, that you can keep 1 million in your account without filling it, then you can open this account and it enjoys you, to have access to AMC limitless. There's no limit to turnover requirements. However, when you draw down the operating balance, just like the other one, we charge you AMC at 1%. Okay, of course, we have our domiciliary account, where you can open your domiciliary account. We have two classes of our domiciliary account for SMEs and businesses, generic domiciliary account and First Dom Plus account, where you open with a minimum of $100, and then you can enjoy interest rate at 0.011 and then transfer charge at 0.5. However, if you want to enjoy more discounts and more incentive, you can open First Dom Plus account, where the minimum operating balance is a $5,000, or 5,000 euro, 5,000 or 3,000 pounds. And for this, you will enjoy interest rates, as it is graded here, between $5,000 to $9,999. You will enjoy interest of 0.5% per annum and up to 2% per annum if you can keep $100,000 and above in your account. Okay, your transfer charge is also discounted when you need to do any transfer out of the account. Where if you're doing below $30,000, you pay the transfer charge remains 0.5, but any amount above $30,000 or its equivalent in other currencies attracts just 0.25%. There are no other charges applied on over-the-counter cash withdrawals. So and InterSol withdrawals are also allowed. Okay, so SMEs, you can also receive alerts on the account, which was the issues we were complaining of. This has been resolved. Okay, so finally, we want to talk about our supply chain finance module. The bank has in our transaction banking group, we have a platform that is called Post Direct 2.0. And in this platform, we have a supply chain finance module that enables suppliers, vendors to actually apply for invoice discounting and subsequently LPO. And it also helps them to do their invoicing. You can, once you're on board on this platform, you can generate your invoice from this platform, and then you can go ahead straight on that same platform, apply for loans. If it's invoice discounting you need, maybe you've done the job, you can access invoice discounting. You can also access LPO. This module, this solution is in the build and will soon be deployed in the coming year. So that is a way of improving the processes for our vendors, not just for First Bank vendors, but for all the vendors in case you have businesses in other organizations. That would help you. And as we're encouraging greener tomorrow, you don't have to carry physical invoices anymore. scanning it or submitting it. So you can do this online within this platform. So we would, or, in conjunction with our procurement team, once this is deployed, we'd like to also meet with you to run you through, if possible, do a demo to let you know how you can be part of this, because it's going to help. It's a self-service solution that will help you to just apply for your loan without going to the branch, and all that. It crashes a TAT of a loan disbursement. In conclusion, according to a survey report on SMEs in Nigeria by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics in collaboration with SMEDAN, SME sectors in Nigeria are strategically positioned to absorb up to 80% of jobs, improve per capita, and also enhance capacity utilization in key industries, which is geared towards achieving a greener tomorrow and GDP growth. To this end, the bank empowers SMEs by providing adequate funding to enable them meet their business needs. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Helen, for highlighting all the bank's products. Thank you for, also stating the requirements to assessing all these loans, the loans from the bank, the products that the banks have, such as the contract finance facility, the invoicing discount finance, the retail temporary overdraft facility, and also the self-service solution, and then the First Direct 2.0, which will be launched shortly and will help assist our vendors to do so much on that platform. Thank you, and we'll now take some questions. And the first question here, Helen, is how does the foundation of, sorry, that's not your question, sorry. How can collaborative innovations strategies be implemented to foster an environmentally sustainability amongst the SMEs? Did you get it? Should I repeat it, please? You're muted.
Okay, so please repeat.
Okay, how can collaborative innovation strategies be implemented to foster environmental sustainability amongst SMEs?
Okay, thank you very much. So we mentioned that one of the things the bank is doing is to ensure that it is easy for SMEs to apply for facilities. We know that, like the statistic, the survey we saw, where access to finance is a major challenge for SMEs, and also the way these loans are given to them manually and all that. So to ensure that our SMEs are able to get their facilities from the comfort of their offices, the bank is saying that, okay, we want you to, because if it takes you like 1 month to access a facility, it will impact your business. You will not be able to do more. But if within 24 hours or 48 hours, just from the comfort of your office, you're able to apply for loans, able to open an account, do a lot of things you have to do, that will improve your business. That is how the bank wants to collaborate, with SMEs, just digitizing our operations, and also SMEs being able to also digitize your operations, automate your processes, take advantage of our e-channels that we have. So once you do that, you will see that your businesses will improve, your business processes will also improve. It will make you more competitive. That's what I think about that. Thank you.
Okay, another question is, how long does an average First Bank PO financing takes?
Okay, so I would say all things being equal, you provide all documentations and also respond to us when you get the offer letter and meet your conditions precedent. You can get your PO within 72 hours, because that is actually the average time that we have. But what we see is that even when offer letter is sent to the customers, it takes you about 1 week to respond to us and all the issues, which is why we stated those things, those factors that prevent us from taking loans. So if you provide all required documentations, it is possible today to get your LPO finance within 72 hours.
Thank you. Another question is, what are the costs of finance for these SME products having been highlighted?
Okay, the cost of finance. Our average in terms of our pricing, I would say that our average pricing, because of course we know that MPR is also high and all that. So average financing for us is about, for LPO, about 29%, between 29 to 30%. We know that it was as low as 26% and even 24%. But as MPR continue to increase, that's how the pricing also increased.
Okay, and another question here is there a way where First Bank can alert each branch to accept LPOs on behalf of vendors without vendors calling each branch?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Okay. Is there a way where First Bank can alert each branch to accept LPOs on behalf of vendors without vendors calling the bank or each bank?
Okay, where the bank can alert the vendors. Okay, so yes, what we actually do and what we're going to be doing with our procurement team is to, as soon as we know that you have a PO issued to you by the bank, we can alert you currently. The issue that the relationship teams have, because the process is manual, knowing who actually has a job, who has a PO, who needs a finance until you walk up to them. But leveraging on data analytics, we're able to now know how many contracts have been awarded, not just in First Bank, and then getting the contact and also being able to pre-qualify these customers and send messages across to them, notifying them that they can take facilities. And sorry, I think someone said which business can make up 29%. When we say 29%, 29% per annum, 29% per annum. Remember, this is not just 29% one-off. And if you look at it, if you get your, for example, for a PO that is 90 days, and we give you loan for 90 days, and then the payment comes and you pay down. That 90 days is, you're only just going to pay for 90 days. It's prorated. It's not just 29%. And moreover, 29 could just be the highest. You can get, depending on the volume and the nature of the contract, you know, these things are negotiable. So when you go to your relationship team, can be negotiated. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question, Helen, is in the context of SMEs, what are some innovative financial instruments or models that can address the challenge associated with access to finance?
Okay, so like as I mentioned earlier, digitization of lending. For example, it's just that I don't want to spill the beans. For example, we have projects running now, digitizing lending to SMEs, and even where SMEs can apply, there's no more barrier for you. All you have to do is go to our channels and then apply, submit all the required documentations. Once you meet it, you get your financing. Currently, the bank is doing it on individual side. We have our first advanced product where you can now use star 894 and then you get financing or even first credit. However, this is on the individual side. But for SMEs, you know a little bit, but we're doing that to make sure that our SMEs can get financing without any hindrances. So employing AI, ML, functionalities to be able to determine who can get facilities. This is what we're doing. And in the coming year, you will see that a lot.
Thank you so much, Helen, for addressing all the questions and then for giving the the detailed insight on all the bank's product and SME products which our partners can access. And so at this junction, I would like to once again thank everyone for staying with us up till now. Thank you for joining the webinar. Thank you for your questions. And I know some of the questions we've not addressed them right now, but we will address them in the course of, before we close this webinar. If your questions are not answered right now, we would collate all questions and the feedback and slides, and then the webinar itself will be shared with our partners so that you will have the responses to all your questions. I now welcome Mr. Olumide Odunuga, the Head General Services, to give the closing remark, which will be followed by the vote of thanks from the Head Procurement, Titi Balogun. Welcome, sir, Mr. Olumide.
Thank you, Chioma. Am I being heard, please?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the bank strategic vendors, all our strategic partners, for being with us for this long. And we must tell you, you are all integral part of our success. And we are very grateful to have you all, and even up to this time. Indeed, I'm very happy to take this aspect of the webinar. I want to quickly send my gratitude to those people that made this event a reality, the guest speakers and the other speakers. Thank you and well done for the innovative way of doing things so that we'll be able to move our bank forward. Also, the marketing and corporate communication department work on the background. Well done to you all. I need to quickly highlight few takeaway points on this session. I'm going to start with the first one, which is we need to quickly embrace economy-friendly products. That is eco-friendly products, green products. We need to start embracing that. And our strategic partners, you should be the one that will introduce products that are eco-friendly. What am I saying? We want to stop carbon monoxide emission in First Bank. What are those products they are going to give us so that we stop carbon monoxide emissions? And sometimes ago, there was an advert by a bank which says one day generator will even run on water, vehicle will run on water. We need a strategic partners that can come up with this kind of initiative, with this kind of idea, so that one day we won't be able to emit any carbon monoxide in our branches, even in our head office, and it's just connecting to green. We are challenging our vendors to do that. Of course, our home, which we are thinking, we'll continue with our research and developments. We'll be interchanging, we'll be exchanging ideas so that we can be where we want to be. Secondly, the second takeaway for me is for us to start buying green now. Yes, the guest speaker, Dr. Olukunle, said, yes, it could be expensive now, but at the long run, we are going to reap the benefits. What am I saying? For us to secure our future, we need to start green now. We need to buy green. We need to start using green. And with that, our future will be secure. Thirdly, with regards to compliance, I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said about the compliance. We are a global company. First Bank is global. We are not just Nigeria. We are benchmarking ourselves with global practices governance. So on that note, my CFO mentioned it, that why are you doing yourself any harm without reporting anyone that is doing things that are not governance? You need to blow the whistle. You need to report any of our team members that are asking for gratitude, that are asking for what they are not meant to get, because we are being paid handsomely and we are comfortable with our salaries. So our vendors in the house, we expect you to report such bad eggs, and the bank will take the necessary action on them. I need to quickly mention this point too. Our brand, the First Bank brand, cannot be treated in isolation with Olumide Odunuga or with anybody in First Bank. So what are we saying? We need to protect our brand. We need to protect our reputation jealously this time around because of our systemic nature in banking industry in Nigeria and because of our global level now. So reputation damage should not be what they should fund among our means. So what am I saying? All of us on this call, we First Banker, we need to protect the reputation of the bank. Lastly, I would like to re-echo the aspect of business continuity. We want our vendors to have business continuity plan. Maybe very soon, we might need to ask that we need to review this business continuity plan so that we will not be found wanting when any incident happens. We need to be compliant to business continuity so that we'll be able to use it when we need it. And our vendors too will be happy at the time they need to activate their own business continuity plan. In closing, it's a big privilege to give this speech because our general services, which I'm heading, we are the one using, if not 80% of the vendors, and we didn't take it for granted for all the successes we've recorded in the past. However, there's a way you can pay us back. You don't need to give us gifts because it's not allowed. You don't need to bribe us for us to give you contracts. However, you can pay us back by delivering quality job, by completing the job on time, by carrying out R&D, research and development, and think of better way to get things done. That is all what we are asking for you. Pay us through timely completion, R&D, research into green products, green execution of projects, and give us quality. Apple for apple. When we ask for apple, give us apple. Don't give us orange and paintings in the color of apple. No cut corners, because we have paid for the quality. And on that note, let all of us leave this seminar with the mindset that greener tomorrow is guaranteed if you can start it now. Thank you, and do have a great day.
Thank you so much, sir, for that closing remark. I would like to call on the head procurement, Titi Balogun, to give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Olumide, and all our speakers. So we believe this session has been a great learning experience for you all, as it has been for us. We want to thank everyone who has given their time to join us today, and we appreciate that you respond to us every time we call upon you. We see that we still have some questions from the registration and even the Q&A box. And while we're not able to take these questions today, we have committed to providing detailed responses to these questions on our website under the vendor portal. We would also be sharing the links to the responses to your emails, and the recordings from this session will be on our website. And so that way you can have unfettered access to all the information shared today over and over again. We kindly request that you review your company's registered email addresses on iSupplier. And if you've noticed that the email addresses are obsolete, please do send the formal memo to procurement so we can update this on our system and ensure all correspondences sent from First Bank are received by you. I, however, want to address some particular questions on the issue of pricing and rates, and the concerns that low rates will lead to a compromise of quality. So this question has come up before and is usually repeated, and so I want to categorically state that we believe we are working with partners that provide value to us, and the compromise on quality is a major issue which should only lead to blacklisting of such partners. Our processes, as reiterated over and over today, are transparent and encourages competitive bidding. Well, if you have any concerns, we have dedicated emails that we want you to use, and we can use it to address your complaints. And you could also use the whistleblowing channels as required, as it's mentioned today. I also see some comments on areas concerned, and as earlier mentioned, we have obtained your feedbacks from the surveys we deployed. We have over 800 feedbacks from our partners, and we'll be, yes, feedback from about 800 of our partners, and we'll be addressing the areas and processes that require improvements. As earlier mentioned, one of our focus for 2024 is to improve our vendors' experience across all our touchpoints. So we believe that we're going to address them. Our surveys will also continue to be deployed twice a year, so we continue to get your feedbacks and we're able to address all your concerns. So once more, please know that we value our relationship with you, our partners, and we look forward to your continuous great business partnership and of course, innovative solutions. So I want to thank you once more and wish you a Merry Christmas in advance and a great year to come. Have a great day.
Using the wrong tools can cause more harm than good. Same applies to business. Ask yourself, what does your business really need? Not sure? Visit www.smeconnect.firstbanknigeria.com to find out and get the best solutions for your business.
You first, First Bank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, yo. Carry phone, make you dial the number 894. Make you know the wait. 894. Money to the stand for life. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started.
You first bank.
In 1894, our first branch opened in Lagos, Nigeria. And we took our place in this new land brimming with possibilities and surprises. Take Kano, for instance, where the city's wealthiest trader made his first deposit. 20 bags of silver arriving on Camelback. Aren't you glad that we offer online banking today? Expanding across the West African sub-region and beyond, our early presence made it possible for all hardworking Africans to build great things. So is it any wonder that not one, but two first bankers have gone on to become Nigeria's central banker? We are intricately woven into the fabric of society, supporting polo for over 100 years and pushing the limits of athletic performance. Rooted in tradition, but constantly leaning forward into the future. Are you coming?
You first bank. Emergencies happen when you least expect them to. It gets worse when you are cash strapped. No need to despair. First Advance has you covered. You can get that urgent cash right now on First Advance. With First Advance, salary earners can get up to 50% of their salary. No hassles. As long as you earn a monthly salary and your salary account has been active for at least 2 months. Just dial star 894 star 11 hash or simply dial star 894 hash on your mobile phone. What's more, when you open a First Bank salary account, you can enjoy 0 charges and free debit card issuance. Download the First mobile app on Play Store or App Store today. Log in to experience First Bank digital banking. Select loans, select First Advance, and follow the prompts to receive your loan. Don't let that urgent need get the best of you. Get First Advance now. It's as simple as dialing star 894 star 11 hash. First Advance. Fast, convenient, secure. You first. First Bank.
Shopping can be so much fun. Scanning through well-known brands and clicking on the payment button is so fulfilling. Thinking of places to rock them? The island or on a boat cruise? Traveling round the world, visiting exotic places with no cash worries or border issues. The First Bank Naira credit card is accepted in over 29 million locations and can be used in over 1.8 million ATMs in over 200 countries worldwide. The First Bank Naira credit card is denominated in Naira with a maximum credit limit of 3 million Naira. It's got flexible repayment options, interest-free period of up to 45 days, and highly secured with Verified by Visa (VBV). The card can be obtained at any First Bank branch and used for international and local payments. So don't let cash hinder your lifestyle. Get the First Bank Naira credit card today.
You first. First Bank. Technology has changed the way we communicate. Imagine if you could chat with your bank on the go and enjoy round-the-clock services every day. Making your banking experience much more exciting, safe and convenient is exactly what First Bank WhatsApp chat banking is designed to do. Meet Alex. Whether it's 12 midnight or 5 a.m., he can make inquiries, transfer funds, buy airtime and data, pay bills, check account balance, and enjoy other banking services. From the comfort of his home, office, on a bus, in a taxi, while shopping, no matter where he is, as long as his WhatsApp number is the same as the registered phone number on his First Bank account, banking is now truly at his fingertips. Be like Alex. Sign up to First Bank chat banking on WhatsApp today by adding First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to your contact list. Get on WhatsApp and say hi. Welcome to a world of possibilities. Add First Bank on 0812 444 4000 to begin chat banking today. You first. First Bank.
Hello there. Welcome to our Digital Experience Center. As you know, we love putting you first in everything we do. We've got the ATMs, so you don't have to walk into any banking hall. And if you want to deposit, you can too with the Telecash Recycler. We have a self-service kiosk available for your personal banking services like your statement request, card block, PIN reset, and other requests. The self-service kiosk offers these various services for all your banking queries and needs. There is the card issuance machine for your new ATM card on the go with no hassles. For our trendy customers, we've got video banking available. With ease, you can sit and carry out all your banking needs. First Bank Digital Experience Center is innovative, automated, and interactive. It's your one-stop banking solution to a fully digital banking experience. Step in and enjoy a world of possibilities. You first. First Bank.
Brother Jumble, why you dey fumble? You no need to dey suffer to send money, Carry for make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to dey stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for there's a number that could change the whole world. 894. It no matter if you no get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial *894# to get started.
You first, First Bank.